Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. This is the public hearing and public meeting of the Committee of the Whole regarding bills numbers 250195, 250196, 250197, 250198, 250199, 250200, 250202, 250210, 250211, 250212, and resolution number 250214. Ms. Lawhead, will you please call the roll to take attendance?
Councilmember Squilla. Councilmember Gautier. Councilmember Jones. Councilmember Young. Councilmember Driscoll. Councilmember Lozada. Councilmember Bass. Councilmember Phillips. Councilmember O'Neill. Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. Councilmember Thomas. Councilmember Harity. Councilmember Ahmad. Councilmember Landau. Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember O'Rourke. Council President Johnson.
Present. Thank you. A quorum of the committee is present, and this hearing is now called to order. Ms. Lawhead, would you please read the title of the resolutions?
Bill number 250195, an ordinance amending Chapter 1500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Wage and Net Profits Tax by revising certain rates and under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250196, an ordinance adopting the operating budget for fiscal year 2026. Bill number 250197, an ordinance to adopt a fiscal 2026 capital budget. Bill number 250198, an ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2026 through 2031 inclusive. Bill number 250199, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-2600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Business Income and Receipts Taxes to revise tax rates and end certain exclusions from the tax on receipts, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250200, an ordinance amending Chapter 121000 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Traffic Code to revise the fee for the use of parking meters, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250201, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled School Tax Authorization to provide for an increase in the tax that the Board of Education of the School District of Philadelphia is authorized to impose on real estate, and amending Chapter 19-1300 entitled Real Estate Taxes to establish an equivalent reduction in the tax rate for the city real estate tax, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250202, an ordinance amending Section 19-1806 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Authorization of Realty Use and Occupancy Tax to eliminate certain exemptions, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250210, an ordinance amending Section 10-1001 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Fees of Commissioner of Records to increase the portion of the fees for the recording of deeds and mortgages and relating documents to be used for the Housing Trust Fund purposes under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250211, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Realty Transfer Tax, by revising the rate of the tax, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250212, an ordinance to amend Chapter 19-4400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Development Impact Tax to end the imposition of the tax under certain terms and conditions. Resolution number 250214, resolution providing for the approval by the Council of the City of Philadelphia of a revised 5-year financial plan for the City of Philadelphia covering fiscal years 2026 through 2030 and incorporating revisions with respect to fiscal year 2025, which is to be submitted by the mayor to the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority pursuant to an intergovernmental cooperation agreement by and between the city and the authority.
Thank you very much. Today we will hold the public hearing of the Committee of the Whole to consider the bills read by the clerk that constitute proposed operating and capital spending, measures for fiscal year 2026, a capital program, and a forward-looking capital plan for fiscal year 2026 through fiscal year 2031. This morning we have scheduled testimony from the Office of Clean and Green, which includes sanitation and the Philadelphia Energy Authority. This afternoon we have scheduled testimony from the Department of Streets, Water, and Aviation. Ms. Lawhead, will you please call the first 2 witnesses to testify from the administration?
Yes, we have Director of Office of Clean and Green and the Commissioner for Sanitation.
morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, before we get started, I want to thank Commissioner Crystal Jacobs. I want to thank Director of Clean and Green, Mr. Carlton Williams, for always picking up my phone call when I call Ezra Grace to cleaning and greening in the city of Philadelphia, for being out in the community on the front line every time we need to address the issues of cleaning and greening our neighborhoods. So I just want to state for the record, we know y'all have a big job ahead of you that y'all have already started. But just thank you for being here today, and I just want to commend the two of you as well for your work. I also want to acknowledge your deputy, Keith Warren. I want to thank him because I call him at all hours of the night, asking him for support in terms of addressing different issues throughout the district, as well as your liaison to council, also Mr. Omar Salam, I see over there as well. Thank him for his hard work and his dedication as well. And so I just want to start off and say those things first and foremost, and then you could just say your name. And Crystal, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's always good to see staffers go on to do great things and rose from staff to commissioner. And you know, both of us have little ones that are the same age, so we kind of grew up in this process together. And so with that being said, turn it over to the two of you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, President Johnson and the members of City Council. I am Carlton Williams, Director of Office of Clean and Green. Joining me today are our Commissioner, Crystal J. Shipman, Sanitation Commissioner, Casey Cooklick, Deputy Director of Clean and Green, Mary Stitt, Deputy Director for Clean and Green and Strategic Initiatives, Keith Warren, Deputy Commissioner for Sanitation, and Chris Newman, Deputy Commissioner for Administration. I am pleased to provide testimony on the Office of Clean and Green and Sanitation's fiscal year 2026 operating budget. The Honorable Mayor Sherelle L. Parker's vision is to ensure that Philadelphia is the safest, cleanest, greenest big city in the nation with access to economic opportunity for all. On her first 100 days, Mayor Parker released a 100-day action plan to help implement the vision for the city. And I am pleased to report that the Office of Clean and Green has made outstanding progress towards implementing Mayor Parker's vision and action plan objectives. In May of 2024, Mayor Parker signed an executive order establishing the Office of Clean and Green and a Clean and Green cabinet charged with providing recommendations to the administration to address some of the most challenging quality of life issues. A report has already been submitted by the Clean and Green cabinet with recommendations that are currently being reviewed by the administration that will be published following review. The Office of Clean and Green has also successfully implemented multiple and comprehensive key initiatives approved and funded in the passage of the FY25 budget by City Council to address quality of life issues throughout the city using the mayor's goal of developing a proactive intergovernmental strategy that residents can see, touch, and feel. In June 2024, the Office of Clean and Green launched the One Philly United Citywide Cleanup. Over a 13-week period, more than a dozen government and quasi-government agencies worked together to address multiple quality of life issues in every neighborhood, block by block. These agencies included sanitation, streets, CLIP, the Community Life Improvement Program, Commerce's PHL TCB, Parks and Recreation, Licenses and Inspections, the Philadelphia Police Department, the Philadelphia Water Department, the Philadelphia Parking Authority, the School District of Philadelphia, the Mural Arts Program, SEPTA, and the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. The cleaning program was a tremendous success and is now standard operating procedure for the city of Philadelphia. The One Philly United City Citywide Cleanup will now be conducted twice per year in every neighborhood over a 13-week period. The One Philly Cleanup has performed over 110,000 quality of life services to date, and we use the work performed during the One Philly Cleanup to establish a new community appearance index that aggregates and weighs quality of life issues, starting with illegal dumping by zip code. The CAI will ensure that we provide equitable services and know where they are needed the most. The Sanitation Department, under the leadership of Commissioner Shipman, has launched and executed several other initiatives designed to reduce litter and illegal dumping. This includes the establishment and implementation of the city's first ever council district residential cleaning program, which has already cleaned over 35,000 blocks in all 10 council districts in the city of Philadelphia to improve the quality of life for all citizens. The highly successful piloting of the first ever twice per week collections operation in South Philadelphia and Center City that provides additional collection day for residents living in densely populated communities. That continued the expansion of mechanical street sweeping in our most litter-challenged sections of the city, the ongoing installation and the expansion of over 1,500 Big Belly solar-powered trash cans that will be placed along neighborhood commercial corridors to reduce the amount of litter and trash for pedestrians in commercial districts, and the reintroduction of the citywide bulk collections program that has collected over 5,000 items since the program launched in October of 2024. All of these new programs have begun to show very promising results. Data from 311 shows the number of illegal dumping complaints have dropped nearly 20% across the city this year compared to last year. Notably, the complaints in South Philadelphia and Center City, where twice a week collections was introduced in December, has dropped by close to 30%, outpacing the citywide decrease. Graffiti complaints, abandoned automobile removals, pothole requests have all decreased significantly as well. CLIP and PHS are great partners in our fight against litter and illegal dumping. CLIP and PHS have cleaned over 17,000 lots through the 2 citywide cleanups. With Mayor Parker's investment, PHS has for the first time expanded the land care program to clean more than 12,000 lots year-round, creating full-time jobs. The expansion has been extremely successful and helpful in preventing illegal dumping in open spaces. CLIP, under the leadership of Tom Conway, has also been very effective in maintaining vacant lots and removing graffiti. In addition to lot cleaning, CLIP has removed over 185,000 graffiti locations in 2024. 311 complaints for graffiti has decreased dramatically, over 35% from the previous year. The TCB Taking Care of Business program is a key component of the administration's clean and green efforts, and is certainly a brainchild of our mayor, Mayor Sherrell Parker. TCB is managed by the city's Commerce Department and funds community-based nonprofits to sweep sidewalks and remove litter with neighborhood commercial corridors. TCB crews in uniform on a fixed regular schedule and in many cases clean every day of the week. TCB has expanded since January 2024, adding more areas, more hours of coverage, and more workers. 39 TCB organizations currently clean 155 commercial corridors in the city and employ more than 324 city cleaning ambassadors. Later this spring, the program will expand to serve more than 20 new areas in the city. TCB workers and organizations are making a visible difference in Philadelphia's busiest neighborhood business areas and complement the expanding cleaning work done by city personnel. Enforcement is a critical component to reducing and preventing illegal dumping throughout our city. And we are extremely pleased with the partnership we have with our streets, law and police departments. Our investment in surveillance cameras strategically placed in known illegal dumping hotspots is an effective partnership with the police department using their existing cam work has resulted in increased arrests and decreased dumping across the city. And finally, we're extremely pleased with our law department's newly ramped up efforts to combat illegal dumping. This is the result of the recent legislation passed by City Council, which also allows the department to use civil procedures to fine dumpers up to $5,000 per item per incident. This new procedure has been the cornerstone in our efforts to prevent illegal dumping and to hold violators accountable. The combination of these programs launched in our first year of the Parker administration is making a significant difference and a positive impact on litter, illegal dumping, and other quality of life issues across the city. We could not have made this progress without the support of the honorable members of City Council who passed the budget and legislation to help improve the quality of life for all residents who live, work, and visit our city. Together, we are making Philadelphia safer, cleaner, and greener. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and we will be happy to answer any questions for this testimony hearing. Now I'd like to ask Sanitation Commissioner Crystal Jacob Shipman for introductory testimony on behalf of the Sanitation Department.
Good morning, President Johnson and members of City Council. I am Crystal Jacob Shipman, Commissioner for the Department of Sanitation. Joining me today are Keith Warren, Deputy Commissioner for Sanitation, Christopher Newman, Deputy Commissioner for Administration, Omar Salam, Director for Strategic Initiatives, Scott McGrath, Environmental Planning Director, Kyle Lewis, Recycling Director, and Maria Von Vaquito, Sanitation Program Administrator. Also in the audience, and just want to take an opportunity to recognize our Local 427 leadership, President Charles Carrington, Business Agent Henry Nieves, and then DC 33 Vice President Antoine Little. I'm here today to provide testimony on the Sanitation Department's fiscal year 2026 operating budget. The FY26 total general fund budget request establishes $180 million in funding for the recently created Sanitation Department. This proposed budget reflects Mayor Sherrell Parker's deep commitment towards making Philadelphia the safest, cleanest, and greenest big city in America with economic opportunity for all, and further augments the expansive clean and green investments made by the mayor and this council last fiscal year. This budget proposal includes over $8 million in new FY26 funding, much of which is dedicated towards continuing to build on the successes of our new and highly ambitious clean and green initiatives. I cannot overstate my pride in the success and accomplishments of the men and women of this sanitation department during the past year and their clear and highly visible dedication towards keeping Philadelphia clean and green. Our litter management, reduction, and enforcement efforts have been unprecedented and demonstrate what is possible when a highly resourced, comprehensive, and strategic vision is established and executed. In less than one fiscal year, the Sanitation Department has effectively launched multiple highly ambitious and consequential new initiatives and significantly expanded several other major programs. While Director Williams referenced these in his opening remarks, I want to take this opportunity to further expound on these accomplishments. Our Council District Residential Cleaning Program represents the very first time an assigned sanitation crew presence exclusively dedicated and responsive to the residents and businesses of their assigned district communities. This has not only borne tremendous early results, but ensures each district will have appropriately resourced sanitation operations, meeting the unique needs in each area of our city at all times. Over 35,000 blocks in all 10 council districts have already been cleaned since September. The twice-weekly trash collections pilot initiative in South Philadelphia has been equally impressive, so much so that we are already laying the groundwork for expanding this to North Philadelphia. We have greatly expanded our neighborhood mechanical street cleaning operation, covering the gaps between areas of the city and ensuring continuous coverage where it is needed most. In addition, we now have a comprehensive 4-crew bulk collections operation, expanded our illegal dumping crew operations from 4 to 6, significantly increased our sanitation enforcement staffing, and have greatly expanded our solar-powered big belly trash compactor units to its greatest extent in the history of the department. Simply put, the Sanitation Department has delivered spectacularly on the investments Mayor Parker and this council provided us this fiscal year. We are very proud of the remarkable strides we've made thus far and are poised and excited to embark on plans moving forward into FY26. This proposed budget allows us to build and continue the mayor's new and visionary clean and green strategy that will institutionalize comprehensive and long-term solutions to remove litter and blight across the city and drastically improve overall quality of life for our residents and communities. We therefore are requesting your favorable consideration of the budget request, and we thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today. The deputies, staff, and I are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Just a couple brief questions, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues. So over the 5-year plan, this is probably our largest investment, more than any other area here in the city of Philadelphia, other than us embarking on potentially a $800 million borrowing for housing. But other than that, this is our largest investment, making sure we improve the quality of our neighborhoods, quality of life in our neighborhoods, by cleaning and greening our neighborhoods. So I have a couple of just brief questions. Give me an overview of how many participants have participated in the same-day work program. Give me an idea what the waiting list looks like and the future of the program.
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to ask Commerce Director Dennis Murphy to come up to speak about same-day program, as this is part of the program is administered through our Commerce Department. And my understanding also is the other part is through MDL, which I may have to follow up with some of those numbers, but Mr. Murphy can address how many members have participated in TCB's program for same-day pay.
And a brief also follow-up, Mr. Dennis, is also, from my understanding, there's going to be reorganizing the land care program, right? And what does that look like in terms of the future as well?
Good morning, Council President. My name is Dennis Murphy. I'm a Deputy Commerce Director, and I lead the team that administers the Taking Care of Business program within the Commerce Department. Over the past year, we, through Commerce and the Taking Care of Business program, have entered into a partnership with PHS. And the biggest part of that is the land care component. So what we heard last year from TCB groups, so neighborhood groups cleaning commercial corridors, many of them on corridors with a lot of vacant lots talked about how difficult it was to maintain cleanliness on the commercial corridor when they're dealing with the issue of lots. So to support the commercial corridor cleaning, we allocated funding to PHS. And that's enabled them to add new lots into the program and also facilitated the year-round cleaning that Director Williams mentioned.
So the PHS land care program, and I have a couple in the 2nd Councilmatic District where they're cleaning the lots. So now they will have additional funding to go on the corridor and work in partnership with TCB. So TCB just does the streets. Now PHS land care program will actually be hitting the abandoned lots on the corridors. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, and this year they've done, they're going to do about 385 lots on commercial corridors that's going to support the TCB work. So that's part of our PHS partnership. And then some of the funding that we've provided to PHS also supports same-day work and pay. So they have 9 partner community organizations that lead same-day work and pay projects in neighborhoods. 3 of those organizations are TCB groups. So those are the groups that I'm most familiar with: Nicetown, CDC, Achievability in West Philadelphia, and One Day at a Time. So we were pleased to support same-day work and pay because many times it has a tie-in with the TCB work, where you have a group cleaning on a commercial corridor and a community group that's doing that, and they're also organizing community projects with the help of PHS. So we support a portion of the same-day work and pay work that PHS does in the city.
Okay, thank you. Under the new structure, will the groups that already have currently contracts with the city to do land care, do they have to reapply through a new process? Because my understanding, everything is being consolidated, so to speak. I just want to get this on the record and some clarity.
Yeah, so for the PHS land care program, they administer an annual, or they administer an RFP process. And what I'm most familiar with is what they did in the fall. So when we enhanced their funding, they led an RFP process where they pick Philadelphia-based contractors. So some landscaping companies are involved in the work. And then we were excited that some of the TCB groups that hadn't done land care before were adding that to their work.
Okay.
So that's what I'm familiar with in terms of the land care.
What's our strategy to make sure that the organizations, the companies that we're contracting with are equitable? Do we have any participation goals just to make sure, because we get called all the time from companies saying we want to participate in cleaning and greening the city of Philadelphia. How are we making sure that those opportunities are for everyone or reflects what the city of Philadelphia looks like?
I can speak to the TCB side of it, taking care of business. So as we plan for the expansion of corridor cleaning this year, one thing that we planned and executed in the fall is we had an expo event. So we invited neighborhood-based organizations and Philadelphia-based minority-owned cleaning companies to come to the event to learn about expansion of the Taking Care of Business program. We had about 300 participants there. It was held at Temple University. And as part of that event, the Horticultural Society was there, so we were talking both about taking care of business corridor cleaning and the land care, kind of the expansion work that PHS mentioned, that I was describing earlier.
Okay, thank you. I'm about to wrap it up. As we prepare for 2026, now we know that there's a proposal of roughly $800,000 to go under the Mural Arts program to help beautify, I-95, right? But if that's the Clean and Green initiative, it is not murals. Why would it be under the Mural Arts program as a part of their budget when it could be a part of Clean and Green as opposed to, because that's going to take away from her budget to actually do murals and graffiti removal when it could be additional 800,000 or $1 million under your budget.
Yeah, when we made the request, Council President, we earmarked that funding to go to Mural Arts because they were one of our intergovernmental partners. We also added more funding for CLIP to do removal and remediation, and we're working with PennDOT as well. So I think this was an addition, and it doesn't take away from their existing funding for the murals that they're going to be doing. But I wasn't aware.
It would, yeah.
So
because when they come, they'll say, we need additional funding, but we'll say you're already getting an additional $1 million, and that additional $1 million you're getting is kind of earmarked for something else other than what they need additional $1 million to do the things that they would be normally doing, which is technically not this part of Clean and Green and part of their agenda. That's why I wanted to ask that question as it relates to I-95.
Yeah, so we'll certainly clarify that with budget to make sure that they be able to explain, where the funding is, but specifically, the mayor wanted to earmark funding to address the eyesore that exists between I-76, 676 with the amount of graffiti that people get when they get their first impression of our city.
There's a new technology as opposed to doing murals. The administration want to do like something else that's different. Explain that.
Well, I think
something that's like anti-graffiti.
Yeah, well, CLIP uses an anti-graffiti skid on some of the work that we do around the city of Philadelphia, so it doesn't leave stains when they remove it. And it makes it easier for us to, when the CLIP is actually doing the work, it looks new, and it looks like it's the new surface and not something that has been, ran over with leftover remnants from the graffiti spray paint, which can look equally as bad once you clean it. So we're investing in making sure that when we repaint those areas around 676, I-76, all along those corridors, that once we do it, if graffiti is then found again, it can be easily removed. CLIP established a graffiti zero tolerance zone, which means that anytime that you cite graffiti, they're doing proactive inspections. Anytime graffiti is spotted through these inspections, that it's removed within 72 hours. And so, again, the premise is that the faster you remove it, the less likely people will be encouraged to continue. That is a known fact about graffiti. You don't want to leave it there to invite others to do it. So that's what that investment will pay for.
Good. And hopefully, and work with Mural Arts, recruit some of these graffiti writers. We've done that early on. Recruit these graffiti writers to be a part of Mural Arts, and hopefully they'll start beautifying the city as opposed to helping the city become an eyesore based upon their graffiti. The other question I had, we talk about cleaning, so let's go into greening, real brief. How many trees have we planted to date? What does that process look like in terms of addressing our tree canopy here in the city of Philadelphia, and particularly areas based upon them being overheated during the summertime?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Casey Kuklick to come up, my deputy director right behind me, who works very closely with Parks and Recreation, who administers the Tree Philly program, and to establish what we've done so far and what our goals are for the immediate future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman. So as you know, the city released the Philly Tree Plan a couple of years ago, which we continue to make great progress on with Parks and Rec. Our goal through Parks and Rec is to plant approximately 3,200 trees per year. That's in their, on streets and in
Per
natural
year?
lands per year. And I'm proud to say last year we surpassed that goal and planted 3,700 trees. So we exceeded the goal by about 500. The mayor's got a goal to plant 15,000 trees in her first term. I think we're going to be able to make that goal because we also need to think about the partners that are included in all of this work. PHS plants an additional 1,000 trees per year in Philadelphia. The Fairmount Park Conservancy plants thousands of trees in natural areas as well. So when we take into account the various partners, both governmental and non-governmental, I think we're well on our way to meeting the mayor's goal. And the Philly Tree Plan, the funding that we've received from the federal government, will support that in addition to the funding that
Is
the
that
city's
the money that's
investing.
on Paul that they held up, or additional?
They have actually resumed payments.
Oh, okay. Now, I was in contact with
But-
DC
but
as of
obvious- I
yesterday,
think-
and I was told
At the same
the
time, I
funding
think
wasn't released.
they had paused it and some of the grant disbursements have resumed at this point.
Okay, that's glad to hear. I was on the phone with them as releasing just yesterday, and I was told, here's the reason why it's being held up, but I will follow up so we're all
That's-
on the same page.
My understanding is that some of the disbursements have been started.
Okay, well, that would be good. So I'll do a follow-up with you, so hopefully if that funding is being released, I think that's great, that's first and foremost. I have different information, but hopefully your facts are correct. And so the target is 3,200. Point of information. Majority Leader Richardson.
Thank you, Council President. Just a point of information and clarification. Are you referring to the federal dollars for the tree plan? Is this a drawdown issue, right? Were you able to then draw down when previously you weren't?
I'm referring to the USDA federal grant and the
Right.
various partners that have received funding through that grant. They have begun to receive payments and disbursements from the primary applicant.
Okay, so the drawdown was available probably as of yesterday, but was not available last week, which is possible. I mean, that's been happening.
My understanding was even as of last week, they had started payments, but
Oh, okay.
we should double check.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'll follow up, council member, and double check to make sure.
Cool. So the goal is 3,200 trees, correct?
Planted by Parks
Okay.
and Rec, correct?
And just give me a real brief update on, we did a heat map
Yeah.
of the city, but particularly in my district where we want to plant trees at. And I'll follow up with you, because we put a proposal together, and we said these trees are going to be planted, but I haven't got a update on actually trees being planted in Point Breeze and Grays Ferry. So that's a follow-up conversation that I would like to have, that I advocated for during the last mid-year transfer process. It hasn't happened yet, but I'll follow up. But the point is, give us an update on how we targeting the hottest areas in the city of Philadelphia, and what is that progress?
So basically, the Philly Tree Plan has 7 priority neighborhoods that it outlined, and it looked at multiple factors in terms of what constitutes a priority neighborhood: high heat, lower socioeconomic class, different health outcomes, economic outcomes, and all of that factored into where those priority neighborhoods are. And so all of the funding that's received and that the city applies toward the tree plan should be flowing to those priority neighborhoods in particular.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. The last question for Ms. Jacobs. Crystal. Commissioner, in your testimony, you mentioned that sanitation employee attendance outages have decreased from 30% in FY '21 to 19% in FY '24. Just want to get an idea of what are we doing, the steps we're taking to maintain and improve the attendance rates and ensure consistent trash collection.
We do have committees that we've, sure. We do have committees that we've established internally that allow us to better track attendance, where over the years we saw we have folks that were out at higher rates. And so we're noticing that by us being able to better track and closer to real time, we're able to address some of those attendance challenges. I do also think that when you're staffing up, you have higher numbers of staff coming in fresh. You're not seeing as many of the attendance challenges early on, and so that's been also helpful towards getting us down to a 19% rate.
And I would think the work that we're doing around programs like Future Track, which is a pipeline into sanitation, helps toward addressing the attendance rate with new hirees?
100%. So they're coming in, they're more work ready by the time that we bring them in as a civil servant. And so they understand better the importance of, having that attendance, because that's one of the things that we're a stickler on through that program. And then making sure that if they are eligible for a civil service job, presented with the civil service job, they're already coming in with that mindset.
Okay, all right, awesome. All right, thank you very much. Going into the first round, the chair recognizes, and I'm going off the screen, Councilman Curtis Jones.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. So how do I thank thee? Let me count the ways. I think the first time I truly appreciated the work you guys do was during the pandemic, when I thought the city was shut down, and I watched that sanitation truck come up my block and let me know that the men and women of the city of Philadelphia were still on the job and that we were open. That's number one. I want to thank you, Carlton. I had a short dumping problem on Marion Avenue, which is notorious for short dumping. There were over 500 tires dumped right there, and the next day, after you cleaned it up, the next day they dumped 500 more tires. So Carlton personally, Commissioner, personally went out there and did his detective work, found out who it was, and the guy was like, find me, I don't care, it's not worth it to me to do. He fined him I don't know how he did it, but $50 per tire. That's the last time he dumped on that avenue, so I appreciate that. Most recently, I don't know what Mayor Parker is doing to you guys with this clean, green, do y'all have to say it 100 times every day before you go to work? Because it's starting to kick in, and people are saying it without prompting, so it's pretty cool. And a person visiting this city, we were taking them through Center City, and they were looking at the skyline. They said, yeah, that's changed, but that's not it. They said, Philadelphia is cleaner. And I was amazed as to the impact that you guys are having. So thank you, and thank the workforce for what they do every day. My question is short dumping, similar to what you helped me with on Marion Avenue. How are we dealing with these construction companies that are coming into Philly and dumping? How are we dealing with that as an approach to all of the good work you're doing? It does not matter if people are the fees too low, are the fines not high enough? What can we do to help short dumping and stopping it?
Thank you, council member, and certainly appreciate your compliments early on. It's awesome that people are recognizing that the city is getting cleaner, so I want to thank you for that before I go into it. And then I'll let Commissioner Shipman also follow up for what I'm going to tell you in reference to the new process that's been put in place. And thanks to this council and then Council Member Parker for years ago for passing legislation to increase the fines up to $5,000 per item per incident, is a big enforcement tool to allow us to actively and aggressively go after illegal dumpers. The law department's new process to hold them civilly responsible is making impacts that we've never seen before, and that's why we're seeing decreases in illegal dumping complaints. Last year, they've prosecuted or processed over 50 cases, netting in judgments over $3.5 million. That is historic and has never been done before, and ultimately, those tools are making it very, very difficult for people to come in and want to just dump because they think they can get away with it, and if they do if they do get caught, it's no longer a slap on the wrist. They can say, oh, well, I'm only going to pay the $300 or a $500 fine and don't have to worry about it anymore. When you start talking about thousands of dollars and holding them accountable in that aspect, you're starting to make a difference. We're going to continue to invest in that, and a lot of it has to do with surveillance cameras, and Commissioner will talk about, the number and how many and how effective the strategy that we utilize, but we're monitoring those sites. We're making sure that we follow up, just like graffiti with the graffiti zero tolerance zone. When we see a dumping site, an investigation is immediately launched, and ultimately the debris is removed quickly so it doesn't accumulate. I think those are some of the strategies that we're doing differently. We're pleased also that we just received a $1.7 million grant from the William Penn Foundation to continue to educate and invest in illegal dumping strategies, and their partnership programs, and I'm happy to say that with members in your district, Jerome Shabazz, the Overbrook Environmental Council, is one of the recipients, along with CMAC in South Philadelphia, to actually do some of these initiatives to green those spaces and vacant lots together so that we can prevent these things from happening. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No, you summed it up very well. We do have about 400 cameras that we utilize specifically for short dumping of the 26 or 2,700 cameras that are on a police network. So we still have access to those cameras as well, but we put in 400 at specific locations that we knew were hot dumping spots, and we're expanding that as well. We do have lists that we generated from requests from you and other council members for where we should be looking next to install those cameras. In addition to that, I think what's going to be key in terms of going after people who are dumping is just the partnerships that we've established with police and even our law department, and hopefully getting some additional teeth behind the types of tickets that we can write. Right now, we write CVNs, and I know we're looking at other ways to be able to additionally strengthen our enforcement side.
Just, my time is up. You mentioned bulk pickups. Is that, so I remember when we stopped picking up mattresses and things like that. Tell me what has changed now.
Commissioner, she can go into the details logistically. We're happy to say that we reinstituted a program that allows us to expand the amount of materials that we normally collect from those illegal dumping locations that you cited. A lot of the residential dumping that takes place has to do with furniture, those white metals and those old TVs, and Commissioner has the details as to how many we collected. It's been very successful so far.
So we suspended bulk collection at curbside in 2009, and we're slowly relying on our sanitation convenience centers to accept materials, as the director mentioned. So your refrigerators, your stoves, your hot water heaters, and now we're able to pick those up curbside through a scheduled arrangement. You can either book online, and it's a very simple form, or you can call 311 and they'll put the schedule in for you. You tell us what you have, you tell us what day you want to put it out. You can put it out on any day other than your trash day, and you can put up to 4 passenger vehicle tires. Mattresses, we never really stopped collecting them. We just put in a provision where you had to cover them because we want to protect our workers from bed bugs, and not to say everybody has bed bugs, but we did, we want to prevent an epidemic, and so we still collect that as a part of the normal trash. Larger furniture that would have, say, like metal, maybe if you had like a sofa sleeper, that's something you would want to schedule through the bulk collection. But a regular couch, you can put that out on your normal collection day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Jamie Gaultier.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to start by commending you, the whole team really. So you, Director Williams, but also you, Commissioner Jacobs, Clip. Our office really enjoys working with you. You are always responsive, and you've done a tremendous job on the new initiatives that you've launched over the past year. But I know that we are seeking excellence and always trying to get better as a city, so I do have some questions.
Understood.
I wanted to ask about recycling. Philadelphia's recycling rate remains low, and much of our waste still goes to landfills or incinerators, both of which have environmental consequences. In FY24, the city collected over 609,000 tons of trash, but only 80,756 tons of recycling, roughly a 13% recycling rate. The FY26 budget sets a modest goal to increase the recycling rate to 15%. Can you talk about the concrete steps that the sanitation department do I have you
No,
all?
you're
Okay.
right. Yep.
Can you talk
Sanitation
about
department.
the concrete steps that the sanitation department is taking to boost recycling and waste reduction, especially in neighborhoods like the ones in my district? So, for example, are there new education campaigns, additional recycling drop-off centers and services? What are we doing to be a little more ambitious about this goal?
You want me to start off and then you can take it? All right. So thank you, council member. Really appreciate it. Yes, our department is very committed and the city is still committed to recycling. We are in the process of building a new transfer station out in Northwest that would bring in additional materials. We have an ambitious campaign, educational campaign right now to encourage people and remind people how important recycling is, and Commissioner is going to talk about that in a moment. I think that if you look at just in general the waste stream and over time and since the pandemic and what has changed globally, recycling markets have changed. And so it makes it very difficult for us to try to continue to achieve what we used to achieve at 20%. It fell during the pandemic and also during when the China swore and decided not to take plastics and a lot of the material due to high contamination. But we are now refocusing and trying to address issues and create opportunities and avenues to take even more material and not just look at recycling, but we're also looking at things like organics, which also affects the diversion rate. I think through our zero waste plan that we are establishing or reestablishing is going to point out step by step some of the things we're going to do to help us get to that goal. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Shipman to talk about some of the direct initiatives within sanitation that she's addressing for increased recycling.
Director Williams did touch on a campaign that we launched November 15th of last year, which was America Recycles Day. It's the Yes Philadelphia Recycles campaign. What we found was that nationally people are skeptical about whether or not their cities and municipalities are recycling. And so we thought that the first step is, one, reassuring Philadelphians that, yes, we do actually recycle your material. The time that people take out to set things apart from their trash and keep as much of the good material going into the recycling bins as possible will actually get recycled. So that was the first key. Second thing is just making sure that we're doing audits, because it's helpful for us to know what parts of the city are struggling more with getting the right stuff into the right bins. And so we do conduct audits by neighborhood to see where we have the most compliance and where other areas may need some additional education. So those are the two key items that we're working on. And as Director said, you know, what's big for us is making sure that we get as much out of the landfill that can be recycled out. So we're looking at organic materials, your yard waste, your foods that are good to be reutilized or repurposed. Also looking at textiles, like how do we keep clothing out of the landfill, things that can actually be recycled and repurposed. Are the different things we're looking at.
Thank you. Council President, is there time to get 2 more questions on the record?
What now? Not at the moment. Dr.
Thank
Phillips.
you very much.
But we will get a second round. That's the reason why we're going to keep moving. Dr. Phillips?
I'm going to get right on into it. The creation of fully operational illegal dumping surveillance task force is a significant step forward, and we're appreciative to that. Just yesterday, I had residents ask me about the cameras and the usage of AI license plate recognition, remote monitoring. How will this technology be integrated with existing enforcement mechanisms to ensure swift action against repeat violations? Like, for example, is AI doing a great job and the cameras picking up the dumping? Because I know AI picks up motion, but is it picking up the actual dumping so it can be someone can get there as soon as possible?
Yeah, thank you, council member. We have not had or implemented AI within our current camera system yet. We have met with several vendors who state that this technology is available, and we're very interested in doing exactly what you just insinuated with your comments, is that it does pick up motion detector, does identify certain actions or movements that a person does that identifies them as a dumper. We want that technology because it allows us to address those issues in real time. Right now, our current system allows you to visually monitor and go back from a recording to determine if a dumping occurred and who did it. But unfortunately, time has elapsed, and sometimes it may be too late and not enough evidence or information. So AI allows us in real time to be able to capture and send the police or a sweep officer or someone of enforcement authority to be able to address people while they're in the act. And that goes much further than having to go back and try to retrace it and do an investigation that way.
Got it. And just real quickly, is there access to those? Like, is it costly to get something like that done? Is there other municipalities doing it? So just to follow up on that. And then also, other municipalities have adopted stricter penalties in terms of publicizing enforcement actions as deterrents against illegal dumping. Is Philadelphia considering the idea of launching a public awareness with photos and so forth of people to discourage illegal dumping?
Yeah, absolutely. We are working with our law department. We think that it will be an effective tool to try to deter people, to let them know that the city of Philadelphia is very serious about people who come in and dump in our city. Being able to publicize that information is extremely important, as it builds confidence and trust amongst our citizens and residents who think that this thing is just commonplace in the city. Well, it's not. And I think we do have the laws in the books, as earlier stated in my testimony, thankfully from the city council. But I think now is the time to show the actions and to be able to do this through a public campaign.
Thank you. And also, is there something that we can do with our schools, our young people, to help them understand better more things around recycling and sanitation and dumping, so we can prevent the next generation from doing this? And also, lastly, just how are we ensuring that these challenges that we're facing, sanitation, by the way, you're doing a great job, all of you, but I just want to say, how are we ensuring that these challenges that we're facing are not having an adverse impact on our workers? Because they're doing such a phenomenal job. I just want to continue to find a way to celebrate them in a way that you all, just so forth.
Thank you, council member. Really quickly, the commissioner, we're launching a program actually this month, and we do it every year, called Green Schools. And she certainly can talk about the details of that, but engaging schools is definitely a priority because we want to teach our young people the importance of environmental sustainability.
Thank you, Director. So we do have 30 schools that will be receiving grants specifically for green-related initiatives. A number of them are around recycling specifically. Some are around other green-type initiatives, gardening and composting, utilizing plastics, repurposing plastics and things of that nature. But it allows us an opportunity through those grants to let the students and with the help of their teachers, to determine a program that they think will resonate with the other students and then implement that into those schools. So it's a really decent program that'll take place April 22nd. They've already received their money. They'll be able to tell us what they've done thus far, tell us what they've learned from the experience, and then hopefully just really get them engaged in thinking about ways to recycle, reduce, reuse, and repurpose.
Thank you so much. Keep up the work. I just keep the sanitation workers' morale up. They're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilmember O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is great to see you all. I want to thank y'all for the work that you do for the city of Philadelphia, making us more beautiful. It really is helpful. Really, I don't have questions for you. I wanted to make sure, Mr. President, that PEA was going to be, are they in this round, or are we doing a different round for the Philadelphia Energy Authority?
Their presentation separately.
Separately? Understood. That having been said, I'll pass on my time. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, sir.
We got him, though.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jim Harity.
Thank you, Council President. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Again, also a big fan. Love it when people come through the ranks, as you two did. followed you guys, Drew, because we were around the same era. So glad to see that. Just have to, and also want to give a shout out to my councilwoman, Ketsi Lozada. I call her all the time about dumping, especially in our neighborhood. And you guys, I sent a picture to Texie on a Sunday, and next thing I knew, an hour later, this big truck was pulling up down the street to load these mattresses. Somebody had moved out and left all their old furniture sitting out there. So I thank you for that. Just a couple of quick questions. When can we expect twice-a-week trash collection to expand areas besides South Philly and Center City, especially since some of the areas in the city that need it are not included yet? And do you currently have the staffing levels required to meet your target block cleaning goals for 2026?
Sure. Yes, we are pleased to say that twice-a-week collections is going to expand to North Philadelphia coming this fall, winter area. We are waiting for the trucks, which is the biggest delay in rolling out the program. Each year, it takes 2 years for us to order in advance to get those sanitation compactors. So that kind of puts us on a schedule that has us delayed to roll out in other sections of the city. But we do.
I'm hoping that North Philly includes Kensington. They sometimes lump us in with North Philly, so yeah.
Yeah, it does include all of our area 3C and 3F, which include parts of that location. So, and we're looking to, even after that, we'll continue to do evaluations to go to other sections of the city that desperately needs this service because we do believe it's making a huge difference in those areas.
It definitely is. It's definitely cleaner in my neighborhood for sure. There's a lot of big differences that if you live there, you can see. It's kind of funny because, you get rid of one problem and another problem starts. So I used to have drug dealers on my corner, so we finally got rid of them. They got evicted, but now somebody's illegally dumping at the corner of my block. I've called you on numerous occasions, but, we got to live with what we got to live with. But I appreciate everything you guys are doing, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, council member.
Thank you. I'm going to take a personal privilege. Emily, come on up. Shapiro. Emily, do your testimony.
Sure. And then we'll do questions with everyone. Great. Good morning, everybody. Council President, members of City Council. My name is Emily Shapira, President and CEO of the Philadelphia Energy Authority. I'm really pleased to be back here in council chambers to provide testimony on PEA's fiscal year 2026 budget request. As you all know, PEA is a nimble team now of 22 people building a robust and equitable clean energy economy in Philadelphia. As you've no doubt heard me say before, energy is not the goal, it's the tool. And we found it to be an incredibly effective one in tackling some of Philadelphia's biggest challenges, spurring equitable economic development, creating jobs, alleviating poverty, and improving public health. I say incredibly effective because for every city dollar we have received since 2017, we've created $75 of economic investment. I'll say that again, each city dollar invested in PEA since 2017 has had a 75x return on investment. I'm so proud to share that as of the end of 2024, the city's 9-year, $13.4 million investment in PEA has resulted in $1 billion in clean energy projects, creating nearly 8,300 jobs. Thank you. PEA's work has ranged from capital improvements and air conditioning at 23 schools to the citywide overhaul of so far over 100,000 streetlights in every community, from installing rooftop solar on 4,000 homes through Solarize Philly and restoring hundreds of low-income homes through Built to Last. We've saved water and sewer service line protection program customers over $75 million in repairs and provided last resort emergency repairs to 150 homes, many of whom were living without water service. We're in the procurement process for 3 large city energy efficiency, renewable, and biogas projects concurrently, and in various stages of development for 6 more, totaling over $800 million in potential investment over the next few years. The uncertainty and change at the federal level has resulted in elimination of over $16 million in anticipated funding for Built to Last and puts roughly $4 million of our existing funding at risk. We've been able to stabilize our revenue by having diverse funding streams, including federal, state, local, philanthropy, and our own program fees. We are frugal with spending and careful not to commit without budget certainty. But as the federal picture grows ever more challenging, we're asking for some certainty from city funding to be able to continue this work. PEA's work supports the priorities of the Parker administration to make Philadelphia the safest, cleanest, greenest city with access to economic opportunity for all, and also meets the priorities of City Council to use the tax dollars of hardworking Philadelphians in the most thoughtful, impactful ways to the benefit of all. We don't need energy to be at the top of the priority list. We fit easily into the day-to-day and strategic priorities of both branches of government. For FY26, PEA is requesting a total budget allocation of $10 million. Mayor Parker's budget proposes $1.3 million for PEA compared to our FY25 allocation of $6.05 million. Funding PEA more appropriately at $10 million will support our core operating budget, 10 city projects, workforce development connected to all of our initiatives, more than 200 additional built-to-last homes, and provide the financial support needed to bridge state and federal rebates and tax incentives via our Green Bank affiliate, the Philadelphia Green Capital Corp. Your support now is more important than it has ever been. Our submitted testimony and supplements will walk through the details of our FY26 work plan and provide staffing, demographics, and contracting details. I'll reiterate our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion across all of our team, board, projects, and programming. We serve the residents of Philadelphia, and for any of us to thrive, we must ensure that we all have the opportunity to thrive. That is core to PEA's ethos. Rather than go through all of our accomplishments and successes to date, I'd like to just share a story from our Built to Last program that for me really demonstrates the importance of not only the work we do, but the way we do it. Most of you know Built to Last. Your constituents have asked about it. The state whole home repair program is modeled after it. It's become a national model for ways to leverage multiple different kinds of funding to address home repair holistically and to restore generational wealth. When we talk about it in its wonkiest terms, Built to Last is an administrative backbone to link and collaborate across nearly a dozen different home repair programs in Philadelphia, including basic systems repair, adaptive modification, weatherization, utility programs, and much more. We started out wanting to address energy efficiency for these homes since Philadelphia is one of the most energy-burdened cities in America, particularly amongst low-income households who pay as much as 18% of their income to utilities. But we quickly realized that even though there were many programs that could address a component of needs in a home, too many people did not receive these services because of denials, budgets, order of operations, or lack of ability to collaborate across programs. We could not deliver on reducing energy burden in low-income households without also solving these barriers. So we figured out how to coordinate things like data sharing, construction management, scope planning, and funding stacking, and it works. We've completed 220 homes to date, with an additional 430 homes in various stages of construction, and feedback has been excellent. Our goal is to grow to 1,000 homes a year over the next few years and to attract major national funders to Philadelphia. I recently heard a story of one of our homeowners, and I couldn't imagine a better illustration of the importance of this program. Mr. Williams and his partner have lived in West Oak Lane on North Smedley Street for 36 years, in the 1920s row home his grandfather owned. Mr. Williams worked his whole life and planned to make some home improvements when he retired, but just after, he got sick and became homebound. The house began to have major issues. A roof leak compounded, creating damage to walls, siding, and interior ceilings. His heating system broke 10 years ago, and he purchased space heaters for the upstairs, but wasn't able to afford heating both floors of the house. They just avoided using the first floor in the wintertime. His kitchen barely functioned with just one working burner left on the stove. He and his partner considered leaving the house. Mr. Williams applied to basic systems repair 2 years ago. BSRP is of course designed to address a housing emergency and keep people from abandoning their homes. The roof damage had gotten so bad that PHDC was preparing to deny Mr. Williams' application due to a cost overrun when they reached out to Built to Last. We were able to separate out a scope of work that BSRP could fund and then enrolled Mr. Williams into our program. He's now receiving services from 5 additional programs. The roof has been replaced and all the water damage over the years has been repaired and the mold remediated. He has a new functioning kitchen, a new high-efficiency gas furnace that serves the entire house, and drafty parts of the home have been insulated. Lead paint and other hazards have been removed and drywall has been replaced. Mr. Williams is even getting solar on his new roof to ensure he and his family will be able to afford the electric bill for decades to come. He's lived in West Oak Lane his whole life and now plans to stay. This is what we mean when we talk about Built to Last as preserving existing affordable housing, helping to keep people in their homes, restoring generational wealth, taking homes from a liability to an asset. You can see in my written testimony the breakdown of the 6 programs utilized to restore Mr. Williams' family home, totaling over $70,000 in assistance. I can't leave this hearing without spending just a minute on our ongoing streetlight improvement program. This project was more than a decade in the making, in close collaboration with the Office of Sustainability, the Streets Department, and many, many others. I think this project demonstrates in the clearest possible terms how PEA helps the city get projects done. In August of '23, along with the Streets Department, the Office of Sustainability, and many others, we kicked off the overhaul of 130,000 streetlights citywide with high-efficient, long-lasting LEDs connected to a remote management system. The Philly Streetlight Improvement Project, or PSIP, uses energy and operations savings to pay for the $91 million project, transforming an efficient and expensive-to-operate municipal assets into cost-efficient, innovative infrastructure. Prior to this project, Streets replaced 22,000 fixtures over a 10-year period using their own capital dollars. And in about 18 months, we've completed over 100,000 fixtures, demonstrating the speed and scale that PEA-led guaranteed energy savings projects can enable. The immediate impacts of PSIP span well beyond just the energy and cost savings. In a study published by the University of Pennsylvania's Crime and Justice Policy Lab earlier this year, the authors found a 21% reduction in gun crimes above and beyond the city's already declining crime rate in locations where lighting has been upgraded to clearer, crisper, brighter lighting. Resident surveys conducted under the same study showed improved perceptions of safety and neighborhood vitality thanks to the installation of new streetlights. This project drives investment in local residents and businesses. For example, American Power Electrical Supply Company, a minority business enterprise in West Philadelphia, hired a local team of 6 people to assemble 40,000 fixtures for use on the project right here in Philadelphia in partnership with Yeah Philly. The 6 young people who themselves have been impacted by gun violence are actively contributing to gun violence solutions by making the fixtures that light up the city, developing the skills and experience to kickstart their own careers. Over 200 Future Track employees were hired by the Streets Department to clear debris from alleyways associated with this project. PEA's core project model creates a pipeline to bridge the gap between what the industry often describes as a labor shortage and the high unemployment rate among marginalized populations in Philadelphia. This project also has a very high rate of participation from diverse businesses, including 54% minority-owned businesses, 27% women-owned businesses to date, 80% of whom are local area businesses. We are grateful beyond measure for the trust and faith City Council has put in us over the last decade, and we're excited to continue to show results for all Philadelphians. We will need your help again now, more than ever. We've been able to weather major budget cuts before, in FY21 during COVID, in FY25 when our operating budget was cut by 50%, though real additional funding was provided for Built to Last from the city for the very first time that year as well through the leadership of City Council. With the loss of federal opportunities and uncertainty of existing federal funding, we ask for Council's help to keep this work going. We've come way too far to turn back now. We're requesting a total of $10 million in funding for FY26, and this ask supports really 4 things. $3 million for PEA's operations, which are critical to programs like Built to Last, which requires deep coordination of program partners to the smooth execution of 10 citywide energy efficiency projects. It includes, secondly, $5 million for Built to Last, which will allow PEA to take on an additional 200 homes from off of our wait list, which is currently over 2,600 homes. It funds $500,000 for operating funds to create bridge loans for low-income energy rebates and tax credits through the Philadelphia Green Capital Corp. And I'll just note, we formed the Philly's Green Bank a few years ago. We are the only part of the state that has a green bank. The state's been trying to put that together, and it hasn't taken yet. And so that's a real asset that we have here in Philadelphia, and something we've not ever funded with public dollars before. And finally, $1.5 million in workforce development support to train and connect Philadelphians historically left out of these industries to clean energy careers. And I'll just mention, the federal funding for the Good Jobs Challenge is active. We have not had an issue drawing that down. That runs through the Economic Development Administration in partnership with Philadelphia Works. One thing it doesn't fund is stipends to participants, and often for folks who have been unemployed or are currently unemployed, you have to provide a stipend in order to get them into training programs, and so it leaves a pretty broad gap in funding that's available for workforce. We've worked hard over the last 9 years since I joined PEA staff to build a reputation of being an effective, strategic organization that does what we say we're going to do. I hope that strong track record of success and the overwhelming support of partners, stakeholders, and community members lends credibility to our request, and I hope we can count on your support this year. Thanks.
Thank you. So you will be included in the round one. Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. So my questions are for the Office of Clean and Green. First, I just want to say, thank you for the work that you're doing. We had a cleanup on the Cecil B. Moore corridor a couple of days ago, and people in that neighborhood said they've never ever seen those types of trucks before. So thank you for the work that you're doing. But I have a question regarding our recycling program. I remember some years ago, back when I was a staffer, recycling actually made the city money, but now it's like costing the city money. So can you just talk to us about what that program looks like and why was there a shift in that?
Sure. Thank you, council member. First, thank you for the compliment. Really appreciate your support and all the council members here in our effort to continue to address our neighborhood issues. Our recycling rate, actually, when we were making funding, recycling rates were favorable. We had overseas markets that were accepting material and paying a premium for this material that we would ship overseas. Unfortunately, in about 2017-18, there was a thing called the China Sword that came out where they raised the contamination rates for the material so high that we could not meet those standards. So those things were what actually was making us money. Now it's costing us money to now store. We were making upwards somewhere around $20 a ton, and we brought in like $6 million each year. Now, unfortunately, we're paying somewhere around $80 to $90 a ton, and that's due to the lack of markets that are here domestically to actually utilize the material. The value for things like aluminum and cardboard is still very high. However, things like mixed paper, single-use plastics, and all of those other items are no longer accepted. We have to discard or process them, and that costs us a fee now to store. So that's where you see the shift in change. We're hoping to invest in more markets here. We're hoping the economy would invest in more markets to accept material that we generate right here in our country so that we can now see favorable rates. It is starting to improve, but it's not going back to the days where we were actually making money off of it. So we still have a long ways to go till we get to that point.
Thank you. My second question is regarding the enforcement of the sanitation laws. My office get calls pretty often about having just folks come out to just give out the civil violations, give out the tickets for folks who are storing their trash either too early or improperly. So can you talk to us about the investments that you've made in the enforcement for those sanitation enforcement officers, and talk about what's their routes in the community? Because our community member said, "Oh, we called them. They came out one time, And then basically the guy told him, yeah, I'm not coming back out there for a few months, right? So can you talk to us about what that, what that looks like and how they're out in the communities?
Sure, I'm going to ask Commissioner Shipman to join me back at the mic, excuse me, Emily, so that she can talk about the logistics and how sweep officers are deployed. We have them designated by districts in each part of the city of Philadelphia. Each year they write thousands of CVNs for multiple quality of life issues, and they're usually on a schedule in different locations in which they service. I'm going to ask Commissioner to give you kind of the logistical details on how they're deployed and what they've done so far in 2024.
Sure. So as Director Williams explained, they are assigned to each of our areas. We base them out of 6 areas across the city. And now that we've actually staffed that unit up, we are about 60 strong at this point. They do have an ability to be back on a more consistent basis in the neighborhoods. And so the first thing that we did was go through and do a full round of education in every area of the city, and they were out in full force together, walking each street to identify and address different challenges that those blocks were having. They are assigned to address the business corridors on a more frequent basis, but then also are able to go back into the neighborhoods to address more routine trash complaints. A lot of what we do is still based on those calls that we get that come in through 311 regarding early set outs, too excessive material at a location, those types of things. But again, having the additional staff, we can actually go back to following those routes that we once established. And those are also synced up with the trash route. So if it's a Monday trash route, 2 or 3 of those officers should be assigned to walk that beat along with that trash route.
Some of the tickets that we issued last year, they issued over 66,000, close to 67,000 tickets. And the majority of those tickets were written for sidewalk not litter free, 18,000. Premises not litter free, 12,000. High weeds and bushes, 4,000. Unauthorized collection fee, 3,900. Dumpster violations is a big one for us as well. We always get those complaints at 3,300, and dumpster areas not clean at 2,800. So those are the top complaints that we issue through our sweep division.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Rouland Down, then Councilmember O'Rourke, then Councilmember Nina Ahmad, then Ketty Lozada.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. I'm going to start with this team up here. Appreciate all of your work. Get PA next. So the first question I had was the Community Appearance Index. That sanitation uses the Community Appearance Index and the Litter Index to guide their work, but there seems to be no public-facing way to look at the data. At least it's not easy to find. So I commend you for using this and for using data-driven approach to equity and litter reduction. What data points is the department using to ensure equity in its litter reduction strategies? And can that data and the litter index and CAI be made publicly available in a dashboard?
Absolutely. Thank you, Council Member. The Community Appearance Index is a modified, enhanced version of the litter index that takes in conception multiple quality of life issues in a given area. So not only we're looking at litter or illegal dumping, but we're looking at abandoned autos, we're looking at graffiti, we're looking at the conditions of nuisance properties and nuisance businesses that is managed currently by CLIP, because we believe that all of these kind of make up what people are concerned about in making sure that the quality of life and the standards are high in their community. So we do have that data and information, and our plans is to make the Community Appearance Index public. The litter index was made public for a number of years until we made this conversion. Mike Matella, who oversees our data and information systems, is here, does an excellent job making these available. I think they're available in Street Smart PHL, is that correct? Right. So Street Smart PHL is one location in which you can look at the latest version of the litter index, but that will be upgraded to a community appearance index when we're ready to release sometime shortly this year.
Excellent, thank you. And I appreciate very much the time that you've spent with my office talking about Big Bellies. It's definitely a focus of ours. So I wanted to move over to Big Bellies. And so some recent social media reports and articles on Fox 29 have still cited overflowing cans, a lack of return on investment of our program. I wanted to ask a few follow-up questions from our meeting when we actually had. The initial cost of the bins are around $6,000 with a lifespan of about 10 years, including staffing and maintenance. Can you provide an estimated cost per year per bin? And would you be able to provide a comparative estimate of cost for a wire bin? And finally, would you commit to working with my office and council on doing a more thorough cost-benefit analysis and working with us to see if there are any tweaks that could increase value and also user experience?
Absolutely. We can get you that information. We haven't done an evaluation or analysis on the cost per year. We do have the overall cost, but we can get that information so that we can break down and your office can do a comparative analysis between what it takes for us to maintain a Big Belly versus the investment of a litter basket.
Great, thank you. And thank you for all of the work that you guys are doing. You've taken a heavy lift of transforming your department, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, council member.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Rourke, Dr. Nina Mai, Ketia Lazada, then Majority Leader Richardson, then we go into our second round. We have plenty of time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very, very kindly. I want to thank you, President Shapira, or I should say Commissioner, please forgive me, for taking the time to be here today, providing your testimony, and answering our questions. In your testimony, the street lighting actually stood out to me, came out of the mouths of a number of the residents of Southwest Philadelphia last night on Council President and Councilwoman Gautier's Our City, Our Budget Town Hall. A number of residents mentioned the importance of that and the desire to see more of it in their corridors, specifically for the safety that you mentioned. But I want to start with an issue that's been heavy on my mind recently, the role of repairs in our city's fight for more affordable housing. There's this theory going around that we can simply build our way out of the affordable housing crisis. I get it. I thought that once myself, but it doesn't actually make sense to me anymore, thank God for growth, because we've all seen the news showing how there's a glut of luxury housing right now, and ain't nobody renting it. If we're meant to simply build our way out, evidently it's not working. Here's what I do know. Philadelphia had a population of 1.9 million people in 1970, and today it has less than 1.6 million people. 92% of our housing stock was built before 1978. Let me repeat that. 92% of our housing stock currently standing was built pre-1978. What this tells me is that although building housing is important, our primary concern should be repairing and rehabbing the plentiful housing stock that currently already exists in the city of Philadelphia. Repair is both cheaper and less likely to displace long-term residents who have consistently told us that they're concerned about being displaced. This is why I'm so excited about the council. This is particularly why I'm excited about the council and the mayor's focus on home repair for homeowners and for renters. But based on the mayor's budget proposal, as you have lifted up, PEA's Built to Last program, the Philadelphia Energy Authority's Built to Last program that focuses on repairs, is seemingly left out of that vision with a funding cut this year of $6.5 million down to $1.3. The mayor's team sets their funding back to the measure baseline, I think about $1.5 million every year, I believe is the case. Can you explain to us how the Built to Last program, if funded with the $10 million that your team has requested, advances our collective goal of preserving tens of thousands of affordable homes, especially in light of potential federal funding cuts?
Yes, thank you so much, Councilman. I'll start with the federal funding cuts. Last year, the city contributed $5 million to Built to Last, which helped us get about 400 additional homes into the program, just under 400. Part of the reason for that was because there were all sorts of other funding streams that we could leverage to help get those homes done. So things like LIHEAP, which is currently under fire in the federal government, things like weatherization, a lot of the utility programs that are available. This year, that same $5 million will only get us something like 200 homes. We have yet to see what the Trump administration will do with some of these funding streams, but it goes less far now than it did before. That said, each one of those homes you don't have to come back to. So we see a lot of other programs that get sort of repeat customers because they're just solving sort of one facet of an issue in a home. Often they don't address the health issues that have resulted from major home repair issues. And Built to Last can come in on the back end and coordinate all the other programs to do that. So I appreciate all of your support and enthusiasm for this program. We found across communities that this is a program that people told us they wanted, and so that's why we've developed it. You can't do energy efficiency in any of these homes if you don't address the home holistically, and so that's really where we came out of it. I think Mr. Williams' home is a great example. Basic Systems Repair was able to put in about $20,000 to that program, and we have, we want Basic Systems Repair to get as much funding as they possibly can. It's deeply needed across the city. And then we were able to come in and put in an additional about $25,000 into that and leverage another $20,000+, almost $30,000 from other programs. So that's really the goal, is to make government work well.
I know I heard the bell, so I'm going to say this and get off his mic. I want to pivot to your workforce development programs.
Please.
We're familiar with how important workforce development opportunities are for working class careers, as well as long-term wealth building in Philadelphia, something that we desperately need. Two things. Can you speak more about how public investments in PEA create opportunities for Philadelphians to build skills that will take them into well-paying careers? And do you have any data that you can share on how PEA has prepared Philadelphians for family-sustaining careers?
Sure, and I'll be happy to follow up with our with a full workforce report. We've trained about 150 people over the last few years in our own programs, and we've paired those with our existing home repair programs, with Solarize Philly. We saw a real shift in Philadelphia in the solar market when people started seeing their own members of their own communities doing solar installations. It really changed how individual families think about putting solar on their own homes in all sorts of neighborhoods that we would have thought would not have been popular neighborhoods for solar. So it's really shifted from this notion of like a nice to have to an important tool for long-term affordability, installed by your family, installed by your neighbors, and folks that you know. So we've really seen a big shift here. But I'll send you off for a full workforce report so you can see the details of the programs we've run over the last 8 years.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. I have a question just for a point of information, just for some clarity too. So, and we championed your program last year, that I do remember. But I want to follow up now. I know in my neighborhood, and I see you got Philly Thrive here, which do great work around this particular issue. How is your request and the work that you're doing different from what Habitat Humanity is doing in Grays Ferry? Are y'all partners? Are they two separate initiatives? And then also, I guess based upon what we see in the budget, you aren't a part of any working group regarding the preservation of 30,000 or either the preservation or building of 30,000 units in the city of Philadelphia. Just want to get clarity on that.
Yeah, we are part of the Mayor's Home Advisory Group. That hasn't released any indication of what will be funded from that $800 million set of bonds, and so that's why we've really come here for more budget certainty around this program. But to answer your first question, we are partnered with Habitat across the board. Part of the reason we created this wonky administrative platform is to help organizations like Habitat, like ECA, sort of take away some of that administrative burden to do that work. So the federal grant that ECA Philly Thrive and Habitat collaborated on for Grays Ferry, unfortunately has been paused or terminated, unclear how they're gonna do that. That was I think a $20 million federal grant.
This is recently,
Fairly recently,
under the
yes.
new administration?
Yes. And that had $4 million of funding in it for Built to Last specifically, with Habitat doing the actual construction work.
All right, I just wanted to see, and then obviously on our end, most members of council, we just ecstatic also regarding basic systems repair. And so I know y'all two work together, correct?
Correct.
So you do the weatherization part, and BSR do the traditional things that needs to be done.
Yeah, and sometimes we even see that BSR can't support a client because it's over budget. And so they'll come in and do sort of the basic roof repair. We'll come in and do either additional repairs, we'll do the mold remediation, we'll repair interior ceilings. So not everything that we do ends up being an actual energy measure, but it's something that you can't do energy without doing.
Okay, all right, we'll follow up, because we just think the synergy is already there. So while we're going to focus on the 30,000 units, and all the 30,000 units aren't based on building new units, it's the preservation of a significant amount of units that would be a part of the equation. It seems like it makes sense, common sense. Dr. Nina Ahmad, Councilman Kenzie Lozada, and then Majority Leader Catherine Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Council President. First, I want to echo all the accolades my colleagues have been giving to you, Carlton, Director Williams, and your department and the work you've been doing. As I told you a little bit earlier, I have had constituents come up and tell me they see a visible difference in how they, and the narrative change that's happening, feeling proud about your city. That goes a long way in terms of hopefully getting more investments in our city and getting people to move here. So yesterday we were at a community meeting that Council President and Councilmember Gautier had in her district, and a question came up from a constituent about management of trees, right? So they were asking, this person was asking about trees being upkept, falling down, occluding their vision of their camera. And so while we are, we understand the need for greening and the impact it has on, our heat index and all of that, she was like, I need to be able to function when you're having all this. So I just wondered if in your program you have a piece that is dedicated about not just planting, but upkeep and informing and educating our communities about the fact that many of these new trees are going to have shallow root systems, won't interfere with their plumbing or their, the foundation of their home. They're not aware of these things. So they're a little bit loath to think, oh my God, I have to do so much more about it, even though they understand the heat index impact and the health impacts.
And a point of information also to follow up and support my colleague's line of questioning, it was also more directly said that the foliage, right, in the neighborhood, particularly in that part of West Philadelphia where we were at, creates issues of public safety, right? It's dark coming down the street. So what is our maintenance plan to also address those trees? And what I brought up is I know for a fact in the Girard Estate area of my district, we've seen it done. And the young lady yesterday was saying she had a hard time getting it done in that part of West Philadelphia. So what is the process where we're addressing the foliage, the maintenance of the trees? And then also some people don't want the trees because it do, depending on how the trees grow, will break up their foundation as time goes along. And so those are two things. Is that correct, Dr. Ahmad?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Ahmad, and thank you, Council President. Yes, so those are some very real issues that we have to some of them are myths that we have to dispel with residents of their concerns, because a lot of the people don't want trees on their block for those very reasons that you talked about. And I think we have to do a better job of educating people about the importance of it. But the maintenance usually is under the jurisdiction of our Parks and Recreation Department. They do a great job to ensure that any trees that are in disrepair or are dead are in danger of falling, they get out and they manage the tree contract to be able to address. And so we'll work with our partners in Parks and Recreation to make sure that the maintenance issues come up. They also work closely with our own sanitation division through leaf collection. So when the foliage does fall, our leaf collection program has expanded tremendously throughout the city, in which we're doing more blocks this year under the programs. So we'll work between Parks and Recreation. PICO also does some tree maintenance as well, especially with power lines and the foliage actually blocking those areas. Between those three agencies, we will work to try to address those issues from the public.
Well, thank you for that, because that'll just enhance everything you're doing. And I wanted to now pivot to PEA to talk about the street lighting. This is all connected, right? So to Council President's point about you being a part of the ambitious plan for the 30,000 homes, and particularly about the preservation piece, as you said, you haven't seen yourself in that budget yet. Could this mean that the reduction in what you have asked is going to be covered in some sort of a partnership? And if you could explain your quasi-government status and how that actually works in terms of being a part of a city budget.
Sure. Thank you so much, Councilmember, for that question. So I'll do the second part first. We are an independent municipal authority. We were established in 2010 by City Council and the Mayor. And so there are a couple of other entities that are like us in the city budget. Philadelphia Municipal Authority is the other sort of authority that is just like us. And we were created for a very specific purpose, focused on energy and market development. So that is sort of how it's set up. I think over the prior sort of council, we had a lot of support from Council President Clark, and so that really led the mayor's team to sort of leave us out of the administration's budget and sort of seek for council to make the allocation rather than the mayor. So that had been the previous setup for around 8 years. And so we're sort of still, I think, growing into the new council and into the new mayor, even though it's not so new anymore. So we're not in the mayor's 5-year plan. We're not, we fall under the managing director's office as far as where our budget goes. And I think, we submit with the mayor's information, but we don't pay.
It would be probably very useful to quantitate the impact you're having, the job creation, the impact on our public health because of the remedial work that you're doing. That could go a long way, and I would be deeply supportive of putting that out there. I wanted to also quickly pivot to electric vehicles. You know, that's my jam. So I know there's a lot of change in the federal government, and I just wanted to know how we can locally strengthen our efforts to continue in that and bring in partners, our private and philanthropic partners, to fill gaps that we might see what the infrastructure deal was doing for us, and how we can continue to democratize EVs. That's the real goal that I'm after.
Great question. We typically don't engage in the city's EV planning because they don't need us to. So we typically engage on city projects when the contract requirement is more than 4 years. Typically for leasing EV chargers, it's a shorter term contract, so they don't need an authority to help them execute it. So I'll refer that question to the Office of Sustainability and the Fleet Department, both of which are working on the city's EV strategy. I will say we've supported the school district as they've tried to figure out how to convert their bus fleet from diesel, which causes all sorts of health problems for children that ride that bus, to electric buses. And they have a few, and they're building that infrastructure out, but that's something we seek to help them with as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilman Quetzalcoatl, then Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson, and we have the arrival of Councilmember Driscoll before we can go to the second round.
Most of my questions were asked by most of my colleagues because I was left for last, but I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you. I'm messing. I'm messing with Council President because we were complaining about queues yesterday. But I want to take the opportunity to just say thank you on the record for all of the help that I get in the 7th Council District from the Streets and Sanitation Department. Grateful for your partnership and for your quick response, right? Councilmember Harity mentioned that, you know, it doesn't matter when we send photos. It could be late in the evening, it could be a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and your department is extremely responsive. And so I want to just say thank you very specifically to Keith Warren, because he never says no, responds at any time of the day. So I just want to make sure that we shout him out and publicly thank him. Thank you for all the work that you do in the district. My one question is, how are we working, how is the department working in collaboration with our corridor managers? Our corridor managers work really hard to make sure that those corridors are kept clean, but oftentimes there are big bellies on different corners, and that trash overflows. And I remember when I was a corridor manager for Esperanza, the guys would often, although I would make them clean up whatever was on the exterior of that big belly, the guys would often complain that, hey, that's streets and sanitation's responsibility, that's not ours. But how do you better work with those teams to ensure that that corridor looks clean and that it continues to be welcoming? What can we do to better partner with those folks?
So I am pleased to announce the mayor's community action centers, or mayor's town halls, as she calls them, that we're now collaborating with those agencies to be able to address those issues directly in the community, in the neighborhood. So when the corridor managers attend those council hearings or council meetings, town meetings, directly in the neighborhood, we're connecting them with different agencies. So just like when you call us directly to address those issues, they will know who the manager is from any department that's having an issue right within that community, who is there daily doing the work. We believe that this proactive strategy is a way to build stronger relationships and to proactively address those issues before our residents have to complain about them. So then, instead of having to call your office all the time, and I'm not trying to put our council members out of business, but what we want to do is to be able to establish relationships with people in the community where they know who's getting the work done each day. So someone from TCB, the corridor manager from TCB, will be there. The head of the district manager for sanitation will also be a part of that. The district manager for CLIP will be available as well. And getting to know who those people are within those through the mayor's town halls is important, because they're able to address those issues head on and then come up with preventative solutions to stop them from happening, not just cleaning them up, but we may be able to identify the source. We may be able to figure out where the location is and then to come up with a strategy to prevent it from happening in the first place. So that is the purpose for us wanting to do those type of things.
I appreciate that. And we know, right, we know who the commercial corridor cleaners are, we know who the managers are, so if we could proactively work with them before community complains about them, I think it would be best for all of us.
Absolutely.
And then we know that Hunting Park has the highest heat index. And while I'm grateful that there are 3,200 trees planted every year, I also hear from residents, like our council members have mentioned, who are cutting down trees because they just can't take the maintenance and how much it costs. And so what are we doing to continue to work with residents, like in the Hunting Park community, to continue to educate them around mitigating heat and why it is so important? And are we partnering with the Office of Sustainability and places like Drexel University, who focus a lot on heat mitigation?
Yeah, so we are definitely focusing on working with our Parks and Recreation Department for maintenance and increased education so that we can give people assurances that maintenance is a big part of the investment of planting trees in the neighborhoods. So our Parks and Recreation Department, through the Tree Philly program, is working to educate residents on how to make sure that those issues are maintained. But if there are other issues, we're also invested in Parks and Recreation to be able to address those issues if they're causing those type of problems. If we prevent those things from happening in the first place, where we plant them, how we plant them, and what locations, I think we can mitigate a lot of the issues that happen 5 to 10 years down the line when those trees become full grown.
Thank you.
Okay. Just on the many halls, the town halls with the collaborations with the groups, I always just say it's always great to work in partnership with the district council officers, the district council members, so as y'all alleviate some of that pressure off of us, but the residents know that we all working together.
Absolutely,
One
Council.
city united.
One Philly, a united city. Absolutely, Council Member. Council President, I hear you loud and clear. Absolutely.
My sister calling me like, what you mean, yeah? Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson, Councilman Jamie Gaultier, Councilmember Driscoll, then Thomas, and then we'll officially be in the second round.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President, and thank you so much to Director Williams and Commissioner Jacobs. I wanted to quickly go through the list of thank yous that I had my team put together for your department because we work really, really closely with you all, and then I'll quickly get into just a couple questions that I have. So again, Director Williams, Commissioner Jacobs, Deputy Commissioner Keith Warren, our forever clip director, Tom Conway. I just went past a vacant lot that we had a fence put up 15 years ago, and it still looks good, and now the tree is growing, and it looks wonderful. I saw Omar Salam, Noel Marconi, our former council colleague. I saw Mr. Carrington from Local 427 and Mr. Little. Also wanted to shout out Emily from PEA, Katie Bartolota, who helps us on all of our legislative matters, Alon, who's been extremely helpful with the Waterline Protection Program, AWR, and I'll do streets this afternoon, and if I forgot anyone, charge it to our heads and not our hearts. But thank you very, very much for the work that you all do to help our office and help us help constituents each and every day. I know we have received one question regarding the cleaning program, and I will tell you, I was so impressed. When I came home one day, the workers were actually on my block cleaning as I was pulling up to my house. But one question we had was, can we sort of coincide this with trash day? So as an example, if trash day is on Monday, can the cleaning day be Tuesday and not the other way around? And so as an example, if the cleaning happens on Monday and then trash day is Tuesday, you know what happens, the trash is all over the place. So is there any way to sort of coincide those activities so that when a block receives cleaning, that it happens after their trash day?
Councilmember, thank you, first of all. Appreciate the compliments and acknowledgments, and I will say it. I just wanted to say really quickly that Tom Conway could not be here today. He was out ill, but his team is here. John Tucci and Rochelle Hand is here representing CLIP, so I just wanted to make sure that they get acknowledged for the great work that they do as well. We did look at the cleaning schedule to correlate with going behind trash collection day, and we are trying to mirror that. It's more challenging than we can because of the speed and the amount of trucks that we have out in an area on any given time. So it's very difficult for us, for our cleaning crews, to try to stay behind all 12 trucks that's deployed in one specific area at a time. But we do try to coordinate so that it doesn't happen the day before trash day, and that we can do it as close to or behind trash day as possible, because we know that that's when common litter areas persist. We'll continue fine-tuning that. They do work on a schedule basis, so we're trying to correlate that schedule with trash collection to ensure the efficiency of the program.
Okay, that'll be great, because we thought that would be helpful, particularly for the complaints that we receive around communities saying, after trash day, things look a mess. So I just wanted to mention that. And I heard you mention zero waste. I think in Delaware County, they had put out an RFP a couple years ago to hire a zero waste consultant. So are we planning to do that in Philadelphia? How is that work going? And I'll come back on the second round for PEA.
Yes, we do have a MSW consultants that we work with to help us. I think Commissioner talked about earlier us doing waste audits to determine the, Councilmember Gautier talked about recycling and how can we increase those rates to see what's actually in the stream. That's the data that we get from those consultant firms to tell us if those initiatives are possible and what strategies that we should employ to be able to maximize the diversion areas. So we'll continue to work with those type of consultant firms to advise us in those areas, and we'll provide that data to help us make those concentrated decisions, calculated decisions.
That'll be great. I'll come back on the second round, Mr. Chair, to ask my questions for PEA. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Leader. Chair recognizes Councilmember Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Emily, I just want to compliment you. It's not every agency we give money to brings more return for our dollars, and I know how hard you work, and I'm nervous like you are about the federal cuts. Hopefully they won't be. So I just wanted to publicly acknowledge you. And Commissioner, I want to thank you for introducing me to the team, the Sixth Councilmatic team. It was important for me to get to know them. And I'll tell my colleagues, I asked, maybe inappropriately, in front of the Commissioner, for her employees to ask me, as if the Commissioner wasn't there, what's really on your mind? And they did, without hesitation, and we won't get into those issues, but what I will tell you, Mr. Chairman, is the Commissioner solved the problems within days. So I just want to acknowledge you on that. Director Williams, I'm a big fan. What you did at that public golf course in our neighborhood is a game changer. And for those of you that don't know, the Community Life Improvement Program was originated in the 6th Councilmatic District under former Councilwoman, the late Joan Krajewski. So it's near and dear to my heart. And Tommy Conway does a good job. Last year, in this very committee, in anticipation of 2026, while I love everything that we're doing in the neighborhoods cleaning up, the first impression a lot of our visitors and our party planners and our convention planners see is our highways, our major arteries. And I was complaining about the uptick in the graffiti. So under your leadership, I now am noticing on I-95 that we are tackling that. And I guess my ask today is that we continue that, because I agree with your analysis, Director. The quicker we respond, the less frequent it's going to happen, or the expansion of that. So my plea today is, along with CLIP or under your jurisdiction, I'm not quite sure who, I do know that Tommy Conway is sensitive to it. Can we please do that in anticipation of our big celebration next year?
Yes, thank you, Council Member. Absolutely. That was one of the mayor's biggest priorities, because he noticed the amount of graffiti along our corridors, especially on the Amtrak bridges, South Street Bridge, along 76. It was just out of control. And Tom and them did a great job. It really exasperated after the pandemic. And Clip did a great job. Him and his team came out and made sure that they established this new graffiti zero tolerance zone, which has them proactively doing inspections. So they have technology and cameras on vehicles, which they go out and actually look for it, and if they find it, they remove it immediately, and that's done proactively, and that'll continue on. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilman. And in that same energy, as we close out the first round and before we go to the second round, I did just want to take a moment of personal privilege. Well, not really, because I was in the queue next, to say thank you. In the same energy, Commissioner Williams, very much appreciate all of the work that you do late texts and calls, early morning, and similar to what Councilmember Driscoll said, you and your team, at least with our office, you're batting 100%. All right, so every time we send a request, even if it can't be met, you get back to us. So I just want to say thank you to Keith, Warren, and Mary Stitt as well, too, both people who my office reach out to on a consistent basis and always delivers quality services. So thank you, and always on behalf of the constituents of the city of Philadelphia. With that being said, we are due to start the second round. I have a couple questions, but I want to wait until the council president comes back before I ask my questions. So I'll start the second round by passing it to Councilmember Gardier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Williams, I think the clean and green initiatives that we've seen come out of the administration are probably some of my favorite initiatives of the new administration. And as we've heard this morning, I think there's a lot of agreement among council around that. However, as the chair of Council's Environment Committee, I also strongly believe that every other community deserves to be clean and green, particularly communities that have experienced past environmental injustices like Chester. And so I wanted to ask, given that, I wanted to ask some questions about our contract with Reworld / Covanta. I noted on the vendor chart on page 18 of the Sanitation Department's budget testimony that it lists Reworld as merely a recycling service provider. So first, can you help us to understand what recycling services Reworld provides for our city? And also, can you talk about the services that Reworld provides for us through its incinerator in Chester? And then additionally, our environmental partners report higher instances of health issues like asthma and other health concerns in Chester, in contrast with other communities that do not have incinerators in their backyard. And I know, because I've talked to you, that incineration is considered generally to be more of an environmentally sound practice over sending trash to a landfill. But I also wanted to know whether the administration considers cumulative impacts of a place like Chester that not only has an incinerator on its waterfront, but a refinery, a rail yard, and many other dirty uses. So I want to hear you speak to those questions and also what we intend to do about that as a city that believes in clean and green and equity.
Thank you, Council Member. I certainly can appreciate your comments in reference to that, and we're looking forward to working with your office as you're hosting several internal meetings regarding this issue. We are looking at different ways to reduce the amount of waste that goes to waste streams, not only to Chester, but to all of our facilities through our zero waste plan, as you indicated earlier. Regarding the contract, it is up for renewal in 2026. This is currently a 4-year plus 3 one-year renewal contract, just to answer your question on that. And Reworld provides basically our waste disposal services, mainly in areas of the city like Southwest West and Northwest Philadelphia, where we do a direct haul. They're located in that part of the city, and that is the service that they currently provide in terms of waste disposal. As it comes to recycling, I'm going to ask the commissioner or Scott McGrath, our Environmental Services Director, to come forward to talk about other services. I do not believe they're handling our current recycling commodities. That is going currently to waste management under that contract, and that is fully at a processing facility they just invested in up in the Northeast.
And then before, I know you're bringing someone else up, but before my time ends, I also would love to hear you speak about what proactively will we be doing between now and our next scheduled or expected contract renewal in 2026 to create a different dynamic that helps us with our waste, but also helps a struggling community like Chester deal with some of the environmental injustices that have been heaped upon them.
Yeah, so one of the things that came out of our conversation and that productive meeting that we had was to look at the environmental impacts of these waste companies that have on the region. and in the entire area. So I think when we are doing our evaluation and award, that is going to be a mitigating factor as to who gets our tonnage when it comes down to our award contracting. We also want to invite others to the table. Competition definitely is something that is good for this city, so we're looking to attract other haulers that offer different technologies. I know the Office of Sustainability is going to do an RFI to look at what the potentials are, and we need to continue talking about organics on the long haul. If we really want to get to zero waste, we have to start including organics, as that represents about 30% of our entire waste stream, in addition to the 30% of recycled materials that is out there. So if we can start to focus and get companies to invest there, I think we can honestly say that we want to move away from places like Chester from waste to energy. So we need to make those type of investments here in the city of Philadelphia.
Scott McGrath, I'm Environmental Planning Director for Sanitation. As far as the recycling component of their contract, that's actually for e-waste. And it's actually a completely separate operation within the company. They have built out they're actually one of the largest e-waste contractors in the state. And they take all the e-waste we accept at the drop-off centers and the events that we service that that we do often with council districts, as well as with some of our state representatives. As the director said, we are also developing a more robust analysis or process of analyzing environmental impacts, looking at emissions and other types of impacts that both landfills and resource recovery facilities have on the communities where they live in. We also have a contractor that works with us that has access to the EPA worm model, which can also take this data and translate it into greenhouse gas impact assessments. So we're going to work a lot more on this kind of aspect during the evaluation process going forward.
And we look forward to working with your office as we continue that process, yes.
Thank you. I appreciate you talking about this with me on record. I think we have a good amount of time between 2026 to figure out something that works for our city and the cities on our border. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, colleague. Chair recognizes Councilmember Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. I just want a couple questions. I'm looking at the line items. There is a proposed budget for DC 47, one-time $1,400 member bonus, and there's also DC 33 salary increase. I want to know in the DC 33 bonus as well, what is that increase average for, I guess, our sanitation workers in terms of what is their minimum salary now?
And I apologize, council member. I will have to refer to our budget office so I can find that out for you.
Okay, all right, cool. Next question I just want to ask, in terms of community gardens, how are community gardens decided upon? And in particular, how do, in terms of like what districts would, how do we make that possible for, districts across the city?
Yeah, thank you. Community gardens are extremely important as they become active locations for residents and businesses to actually enjoy some kind of activity and also to beautify our communities and neighborhoods. It is a tool that we use against illegal dumping, and we think this is going to be effective because a landscape beautified location is less likely for someone to come in and dump trash. It's usually well manicured, well maintained, and in some cases well-lit. So our lighting is definitely a big help because that's what dumpers actually look for, dark, desolate locations where they can get away with dropping off material and then leaving very quickly without being spotted. So I think community gardens is going to be an effective tool for us to be able to continue the work that we're doing and making Philadelphia cleaner and greener.
The question was, how do you make a decision on who gets what communities get a community garden? Is it discussed through the council members or community? Like, how do you all make those decisions on it?
So we will certainly work with the council members' office and also the community. We also look for those residential communities where people are going to take ownership. That's a big role because city alone can't maintain these as much as CLIP does a tremendous job in PHS. We certainly need the community to take ownership. So that's where we make the determination of which neighborhoods and which community get community gardens.
And I'll follow up with you on that. Just a quick question for PEA. How is the Built to Last program is supplementing PHDC's work? I'm just trying to figure out why can't it all be together, right? In more ways than one. And so it's not, because when I think of what you're doing, I immediately think about calling PHDC as opposed to calling you. And I think that just creates a friction of resources.
Yeah, thank you so much for this question. This perfect question to explain this. So we're part of the city's One Front Door program, which is going to be launched soon, where it's a single portal that folks can go in to get all sorts of resources. So when someone submits a request and they just need one thing, like they've got a hole in their roof or they've got sparking electrical or a specific plumbing issue, that goes straight to basic systems repair. That's something they can tackle. They have constraints based on the type of funding they receive typically. So their CDBG funding from the federal government restricts their contribution to folks to $25,000 per home, and so that sort of limits their ability to do additional types of work. Also, basic systems repair is designed to be sort of a homelessness prevention program almost, where they're addressing an emergency need specifically. So they're not going in and doing those health measures or those efficiency measures or anything like that. That said, we work really closely with PHDC on purpose. We hope that someday there's further integration, but at the moment, the way everything is set up and designed, there's sort of a mission outside of the basic systems repair program that is sort of needed to be addressed that PHDC isn't able to address at the moment, but we work really collaboratively for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Chair. I just think the goal is for us to get as many people off that wait list as possible, and I would love for that to be outlined of like what's it going to take for us. I mean, I see it mentioned, but it's not really specific of how to get people off the wait list for the Built to Last program. Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm going to take a step back because a couple folks didn't get to go in the first round. So I'm going to take a step back and recognize Councilmember Mark Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to thank you for all the work and efforts that you do coordinating and communicating with our offices. We can be a pain sometimes. We email all hours of the night and morning, and it's great to always have the responses that we get. And it's really not the challenges that come to us, but how we handle the challenges that it's key for the city to be successful. Things are always going to happen, and to me, the most important part is to be able to get a response. And we always have that from Clean and Green, from sanitation, and revenue, and everybody who's involved in this. My two quick things. One is we're moving forward with the Clean and Green initiative of the mayor's office. One of the things, and we work with CLIP, who does it, I didn't mention them, but they do a tremendous job, and I think they're under Clean and Green now too, right? Yes. But the budget, I think, is under Managing Director's office. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. It's a little confusing, but we'll figure that out during this process. But you mentioned graffiti, and we were talking about graffiti has really uptick in graffiti, and CLIP has been on it, but on the highways and PennDOT, there was a coordination with PennDOT. And I think it was mentioned during the mayor's announcement that through MAP, they were going to work with some of the young people and the graffiti writers or to a program to come in and start cleaning up some of that areas. How's that going to work? And is that going to be a new program?
Yeah, it's actually already started. Clip jumped on it early last year because of the amount of graffiti that we were witnessing and, along I-95 and 676 and I-76. And so we have some very challenging locations, the Amtrak or CSX rail bridge across from Boathouse Road and South Street Bridge. I don't know how they got under South Street Bridge to tag it, but we have to come up with ways that we can start to address that. But we are working, as you stated, with a three-phased approach. Graffiti zero tolerance zone through CLIP. They've invested in cameras to be on vehicles to spot graffiti the moment it occurs. So they're out there almost weekly to go up and down and do an estimate and investigation on where it was. Not only are they doing that, they're turning those photos and information over to the police department. So they're involved to get those who are constant graffiti vandals and those who are not willing to work with mural arts to be productive. We have to start enforcement. And finally, as you mentioned, the mural arts program, we do want to set up a program where we bring in those graffiti artists to put them into productive use for the talents that they have and not have a derogatory use that they're currently doing by defacing public property and along our interstates and highways. So that is our approach, and that's what this investment in this budget's handling.
That's perfect, because I think it's really important to work with those writers too, to see other opportunities instead of tagging things. They could be part of beautifying things, right? And,
that is the goal,
and
yep.
Instead of part of the problem, they become part of the solution. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that, and appreciate all the hard work that's going into this.
Thank you, Council Member.
Thank you, Member Squilla. Chair recognizes Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. Real quick, prior to the seat that I have, I was the chair of the Streets Committee, and during my time as the chair of the Streets Committee, one of the biggest things we used to always discuss was that 80% of the car accidents was produced on 10% of the roads. We talked significantly about capital investment in these intersections to be able to address this issue. Where are we with that? Do 80% of the car accidents still happen on 10% of the roads, or have we seen some type of significant improvement to a lot of our major intersections that were significantly unsafe for drivers, pedestrians, as well as cyclists?
Yeah, that's more of a question for Otis, and I'm sure that they're going to address it, but I can't speak to part of it. That's the high injury network, in which 80% of the accidents and the most deadly crashes, they don't use the word accidents, they say crashes because they're preventable, but they happen on just 13% of the roadways in the city of Philadelphia. And they are making huge investments in the city of Philadelphia, from additional speed cushions to speed cameras.
And speed cushions, you have data that say that the speed cushions and speed cameras work.
Yes, 40%. In fact, on Roosevelt Boulevard, they've seen a 40% decrease in the amount of crashes on the boulevard since they put those cameras in play. And I'm happy to hear that they're expanding to other locations around the city, especially along the high injury network, to prevent those tragedies from happening.
Last question. You testified that 90% of potholes gets refilled in 3 days. I drive around Philadelphia. I don't know if, as a resident, I necessarily believe that. Help us understand, as Philadelphians who drive around the city. I live in Councilman Phillips' district. I'll go ahead and throw Shelton Avenue, right? That's my least favorite street to drive on in the 9th District. Help us understand why it doesn't feel that way.
So on average, they complete it in 3 days, but there may be underlying circumstances that a pothole or a ditch or a cave-in occurs. So potholes are small, less than 12-inch diameter, less than an inch deep. But when you start to get into things that you see that have wider spaces, it could be an underlining issue. Like it could be a water main that's starting to default. Those
things don't come under the 3-day category.
No, they don't come under the 3-day category.
Thank you, Council President.
Yep. You're welcome.
Member Harity.
Yes, exactly. what you're saying. I always preach, I was a highway worker, the definition of a pothole, there is an actual definition. That's why my bill that just passed is important, that now we are able to go after these bad actors, because what's getting labeled potholes are actually construction holes.
Yes, sir.
That most of the time are laterals to somebody's house that were done illegally. We know it was done illegally without a permit, because if they got a permit, the streets department comes out and fills the hole in because they want it done right.
That is correct.
So that's just the point of information. We do now have an avenue where we are able to find them, and they are not allowed to bid or anything like that with their license until they rectify the situations once
Right
they're
there.
caught.
Thank you, council member. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's actually Councilmember Young, then Rulandow, then Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one question about the budget. Last year's budget was about $3.4 million for some front-end loaders and triaxle dump. Just trying to figure out where we are with that. Can you talk to us about how long it takes your department to get the equipment that's necessary?
Yeah, I think those were used for our illegal dumping crew. Is that correct, Commissioner? Can the Commissioner speak, please? Yeah, I'll have the Commissioner come up and, Deputy Commissioner Warren? Oh, Deputy Commissioner Warren, I'm gonna ask him to come up and talk about the use of that equipment and how long it usually takes. We have to, just like compactors, that's specialized equipment that does take time to order in advance. And I believe our illegal dumping crew, the one that we're adding, which will have that type of equipment, will be actually in place this spring. Sometimes later this spring, we'll have another dumping crew that comes up, but I'll let Deputy Commissioner Warren kind of explain the equipment as he works with it every day.
Good afternoon. I'm Keith Warren. I'm Deputy Commissioner of Sanitation. I'm sorry to ask you to repeat the question.
The question was about, there's a budget, a line item in last year's budget for 3.4 for like front-end loaders and a dump. I just wanted you to talk to us about, has those equipment been ordered, and what's the timeline it takes to get that equipment?
Yes, the equipment has been ordered. It's about a 24-month turnaround in perfect conditions from order to arrival, receiving. There have been several challenges affecting the supply chain, as you know, weird things, the ship hitting the bridge, and now, of course, some things with tariffs and not tariffs. But we have received 75% of the equipment, and it is used mostly for large construction type dumps that occur on underused land or land where there's not residential areas. There's some big places in Southwest. Councilman Jones talked about Marion Avenue earlier. I'm sure you all seen that story about the tires in the park. Jobs like that require equipment. So that's what we use the dump trucks and the front end loaders for.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you. We had a town hall meeting in Fairmount last night. You represented very well, you and Mike as well. So thank you for coming to that meeting. Those residents were very pleased with the answers that you provided to the community. They even mentioned a facility in that neighborhood that needed cleaning. And Mr. Warren called and had someone even just survey the area to see exactly what they were talking about. It was already cleaned, but I just want to let you know you guys are on top of your job in that particular community and others in the city. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, and it had nothing to do with that I live in your district. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next person is Councilmember Rulandow. Good to see you too, Keith. Councilmember Rulandow.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you for your hard work. Did you hear me earlier?
I did. Thank you. I was in the corner the whole time.
Sorry, Ru.
There's a lot of love and thanks going on today.
No, because listen, we pass these
I like
bills.
this.
We pass bills and the bills are cute, right? But people also really want us fighting on bread and butter issues.
Right.
Basic systems repair, built to last, getting trees out the alleyways, making sure that the potholes are filled. Those are the things that are near and dear to individuals and the constituent services that will keep you coming back to this illustrious hall terms of the work that we're doing. And so we thank you because you're on the front line. And so, Commissioner, your leadership, thank you very much for stepping up and making sure that the mayor's vision of a clean and green, safer city is on the forefront of what we're doing, and the members of council for always being supportive. Councilman Rulinda.
Thank you very much.
Esquire.
Thank you. First of all, personal aside, not taking off any time on the clock here. I know you're looking for all the graffiti taggers out there. There's one called Rue, R-E-W, and I would love to meet that person. So as soon as you figure out who it is, make it connect. I hope it's a good one and not a bad one that you're going to bring into mural arts. But I love Rue. Thank you. Second one, just one more follow-up for you, and I can't wait to get to PEA. But last May, Mayor Parker signed an executive order establishing the Clean and Green Cabinet, and the Cabinet was tasked with providing recommendations to Mayor Parker that will help make Philadelphia a cleaner and greener city. Have those recommendations been made? Will they be made available to City Council and the public? And how are those recommendations reflected in Mayor Parker's budget proposal for FY26?
Yes, thank you, council member. So definitely the Clean and Green Cabinet did a great job. The report was submitted in December of 2024. The administration is currently under review by the administration and our cabinet to look at the recommendations. Many of them, or some of them, are already highlighted in the budget in reference to the enforcement strategies, the greening strategies that you heard here today. So while they're still reviewing the total report, a lot of the work is still being done and implemented in the budget, and we'll be happy to share that with you once the full review is complete, and we'll also make that public.
Wonderful, thank you. Can I ask questions to PEA now? Is Emily still here? Yes. Thank you, Emily, PEA. If we could clone you guys, we would. We just need to get to some more budget money. I know you touched on solar already a little bit, but I want to follow up that with the support of from PA, the city's Adams Solar Power Purchase Agreement came online in early 2024, providing municipal buildings with renewable electricity. What is the projected impact of the Adams Solar Power Purchase Agreement on municipal energy costs and carbon emissions? How many buildings have been set up with this, and how many are still to go?
Thank you so much for that question. So Adams Solar provides about 25% of the city's electricity. It's not on a sort of building by building basis. It's a aggregate number, and that's delivered directly to us through PECO. We are in the midst of another procurement for the next chunk. Our goal, the city's goal, is to be at 100% renewable electricity by 2030.
Nice.
We're we are close. We've seen a significant reduction in energy usage. So, we sort of say our old adage is use less energy wherever you can, and when you have to use it, make it as clean and healthy as possible. And so that's kind of the model. We're excited that the carbon reduction numbers are coming out soon for, I think it's the 2022 report that the Office of Sustainability is putting out now, and that'll show some further reductions. So yeah, there's a little bit of a lag on the data for them, but they'll release that shortly. And then we're working with them now to procure additional renewable purchases writ large. We're also collaborating now between the city and the school district. Hopefully soon we will see the city taking on some of the procurement for the school district's energy usage because the city procures in a more sophisticated and more affordable manner. And so as that is working its way through the contracting process, we expect to be able to support the school district's purchase of renewable electricity as well.
That is very exciting, thank you. Yay, clapping, doesn't take off the time. President Biden's 2022 climate law expanded the tax credits which cover the costs of heat pumps, air conditioners, home insulation, and solar panels. What is the possible fallout for PA or Philadelphia if these tax credits are cut?
Sure, they're certainly under fire. We are expecting that the rebates that go through the state are likely to move forward. So there's over almost $300 million in funds that were allocated to Pennsylvania for home energy rebates, both for multifamily and for single family. The state is moving forward with those. we will be able to leverage those with Built to Last through our Green Bank, not to connect too many dots there. But we're expecting those to go through. The investment tax credit for renewable energy is certainly under fire, and I don't have any predictions on what Congress or this president will do for any of that. It's a 30% tax credit, so 30% of the total value of the project is returned in your taxes. So it would have a huge impact on the market.
One last one.
Thank you. So we have a hard stop at 1, so I have to get to the rest of your members who are here. The chair recognizes Councilman Catherine Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was actually reviewing my emails sitting here, and I just wanted to put on the record for one project that we've been working on with Councilmember Jones's office for the speed cushions at Overbrook High School. They're for spring of 2025, so we're getting there now. The weather's starting to turn, so I just wanted to put that on the record. And then really quickly for PEA, I wanted to talk about the commitments that you all have secured from your vendor on the Quadplex and the Guarantee Energy Savings Project to meet all of the minority business participation goals. I know my team went to the briefing that was held. I know we've spoken ad nauseum about this issue, seeking to ensure that there is real, actual, not a pass-through or any other thing going on, minority participation on this project. So could you speak to, just for the record and for the public, what a real overview of what the project is, and then the actual minority participation and any changes that you have made to address the concerns that we have brought to your attention over the last couple of months. And I know this is important to Council President as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question, Councilmember.
And also the Black Women's Leadership Council. I think that's who you met with on my behalf, Joanne Bell and her team.
Yes.
And thank you for making that time.
Of course, and I think we're getting ready to meet with our Black Business Group as well, and any other organization that has any interest in talking about these issues more. This is absolutely core to the work that PEA does. We take this incredibly seriously. I think you'll see on all of our projects that our participation numbers far exceed our EOP commitments. I'll give just street lighting as the example of that. We're at 81% participation at the moment. The commitment on that project was 54%. So we take it incredibly seriously, both with the sort of large supplier diversity percentages and contractor diversity percentages, but also in creating workforce opportunities, whether those are big or small, to make sure that people have a chance to get into this industry. Specific to the Quadplex, this is a project that is going to come before council very soon for your approval.
I'm sorry. I apologize for the interruption because I heard the bell. Could you just break down the participation numbers?
Oh, sure.
You know, African American, Hispanic, Asian, female. If you could just provide an actual breakdown, and then I apologize. I want to get that in.
No, not at all. So on this project, it's a 60.38% commitment. And I will get you the more specific breakdown on this of the percentage of MBEs versus WBEs in that 60%. At the moment, I know that it's skewing more towards WBEs, but there is some significant MBE percentages as well. I'll follow up with everyone and share the details on that as well as the contractors that are planned. One thing I'll just note on energy projects is there's a period, different from our normal procurement of construction, there's a period of investment grade audit where we're actually refining the scope. So this will be subject to change above the 60%, not below it. But just to note, these are the contractors at the moment with the proposed scope.
Majority Leader?
Yes, I'll wait for the additional information. I know we're slated to have additional conversation. I think we're meeting tomorrow as an example. But I just wanted to get that on the record because, yes, I did, hear from Black Women's Leadership Council, but I also heard from other individuals regarding this specific project. It wasn't just one person. And so that was the sort of alarm bell for me to really look into this more deeply. regarding ensuring that we have minority participation and real minority participation on this project, particularly based on what we're dealing with in, DC at this point. We have to be the stopgap in the city of Philadelphia to ensure that the dollars we are expending really goes to the communities that reflect the demographics of the city of Philadelphia. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Brooks, O'Rourke, Lozada, and we were wrapping up at 1 p.m. for our break.
All right, thank you so much, Council President. So my question is for PA, and I have other questions I'll just submit for the record. I'll just submit and I can get the answers in writing. So in the past, PA has been excellent at leveraging additional private and federal funding to supplement city funds. In the face of federal rollbacks, what are your current plans or approach and expectations? My second question is, we've heard that PIA hasn't yet spent all of its Build to Last funding from last year, and also that the ability to do long-term planning is especially important for Build to Last, given the amount of coordination and braiding of different programs that it all includes. Can you speak to the importance of stable city funding in your long-term planning, and what would happen to the program if you didn't receive city funding this year? And can you also speak to any specific success stories or neighborhood impacts regarding Build to Last? And my last question is, what role do you see for community-based organizations and how they can advance or help with the outreach to ensure residents can take advantage of Build to Last? Did you get all that?
I think I did. Thank you so much for these questions. I know we're short on time, so I'll give you some broad answers, and then I will follow up with very specific details. So I'll talk to the CBO question first. We actually have a pilot running right now that is going fantastically. It's funded by Fannie Mae in Kensington in partnership with New Kensington CDC, and we adjusted the model a little bit. So right now we sort of serve the entire city. No matter where you live, doesn't have to be a certain census tract or a certain neighborhood. But we decided let's see what it looks like if we had a CBO really leading that outreach and that relationship with the community, and it's been wonderful. We have 60 homes that will get full Built to Last treatment with all of the other programs involved. NKCDC does the intake and does the communication with the homeowners to make sure it's really a trusted partnership. So that's going really well. We'll continue to fundraise around that model with other CBOs as well and NKCDC. And we'll have a full report from that Fannie Mae pilot hopefully in the next few months. The second thing I just want to address is sort of that stable city funding and what happens if all of the things that the Trump administration is kind of promising come true. So I'll just say we had raised what we expected to be about $20 million in funding for Built to Last from federal grants for next year. Those are terminated, so there were $4 million as part of that Habitat and Philly Thrive collaboration in Southwest, and then another project that might still have a very slim chance of getting approved later if things at the EPA calm down, but we're not expecting it anymore, and that was about $12 to $16 million for Built to Last. And so we had really put a lot of resources over the last few years into applying for federal grants through the Inflation Reduction Act and BIL, and so a lot of that is not available anymore. We are not slowing down, though, at all. We're approaching Medicare and Medicaid to find ways for them to supplement the cost of interventions for home repairs because of the health impacts. We are working with a variety of philanthropic organizations. Typically that's not going to replace big federal funding, but we'll do as much as we can there. We've made asks of the state. We are making an ask here, and I'll just say too that all of the funding that was allocated to Built to Last from last year's budget and from whole home repair is encumbered, so it's committed to specific homes. So that 650-ish home number, that includes all of that funding. So we know each individual home that's going to go to as of right now. It just takes a few months for that construction to get done because you're coordinating across multiple programs. So while it's not actually physically spent, it's accounted for. And then we're asking for additional funding in this budget this year to be able to take more homes off the wait list. We don't take them off the wait list until we know we can fund their repairs, because we don't want to make expectations of folks that we can't fulfill. And then, that $5 million is incredibly important, but remember, this is a $1 billion problem that we have here in Philadelphia. And so if we're able to get additional funding from the Mayor's Home Initiative, we hope that we will, and we could easily utilize $10 million a year for the next 4 years additional to this program. So it's really just a question of funding for us. If there's enough money out there, we can take more people off the wait list. This isn't an easy program. It takes time. It takes coordination. To do it with dignity and respect for the folks in Philly takes effort. And so we're okay with the fact that it takes 6 or 7 months to complete a project at a home, because then people have a stable home to live in. So that's really our goal. And we hope that this is sort of demonstrating to the administration and to everybody that this is really what neighborhood stabilization looks like. And it's the number one thing we hear from communities is home repair, home repair, home repair. And while basic systems repair is wonderful, and we are thrilled to have their collaboration and partnership, it sort of takes one slice of the pie and doesn't sort of get to that full stabilization of the home.
Thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilmember. Okay, all right. Councilmember Dr. Phillips. And then we're wrapping up with Councilmember Rulandell. Mr. Ratt.
Just really quickly, I just noticed that, PHGC program, Basic Systems Home Repair, and Built to Last. My only concern is that I can see that if you all are not strongly in unison, there being programs falling under the, housing repairs falling under the cracks. And I really think that needs to be fixed now. I know you're doing this one system, but it still involves intense communication. And that actually might be one of the reasons why we're not getting repairs done efficiently and effectively. And to me, that has to be solved first before we continue to fund a program that's not working yet as strongly as it should.
We totally agree, and we'll follow up with you on what that collaboration looks like. We've grown a lot with PHGC over the last 2 years with whole home repair, so I'm excited to share more detail on that.
You're welcome. Thank you. And wrapping us up will be Councilman Rulandell.
Thank you. I didn't know I was getting a third one. I appreciate this. Two quick questions for PA. One is that
Councilor be at ease. Excuse me. His button isn't pushed. Harity. It's on now, sir. We'll make sure we get you fully wrapped up.
I can wait. I'm just.
Chair recognizes Councilman Rulandell.
we know that State Rep Fiedler has done this great project with Solar for Schools, and you know that I'm very interested in expanding solar to municipal buildings. We've already seen great results from Solar for Schools. Is there an opportunity to identify more municipally controlled assets to replicate and expand this program so we can have more important renewable energy sources and decrease our carbon footprint? And also, has the city explored including renewable energy in its plans for leased properties as well? And I'm going to add my last one so I don't have to ask again. I just want you to, as concisely as possible, outline what the things PA won't be able to do if you do not receive your full funding. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll be quick on this. So rooftop solar for city buildings is on the agenda. It's one of 10 city projects that we're working on procurement for. We know that there are roof quality issues with certain city buildings, as well as electrical system upgrades that will need to happen. So it's got to happen really in collaboration with the Department of Public Property and each different department. As part of the Quadplex project, we've got the 4 main city office buildings in Center City, but also 8 health centers, and 3 homeless services buildings. And this was really an attempt to work across departments to do exactly these type of things. So for each health center, we'll be evaluating solar and storage for resilience so that if there is a power outage or some sort of other emergency, that those health centers are still able to remain active. Thank you. So I'll stop there on rooftop solar and happy to follow up there. We only have one lease that involves solar, which is 5th and Spring Garden where the city archives is. We have solar on the roof there, and that's something we can definitely continue to look at. It's not currently in the leasing plan. I really do want to address what PEA won't be able to do if we don't have this budget. We've been able to weather some budget cuts over the years without doing any layoffs and still continue to grow programs where there's funding to grow them. And that's gone well, and we've been pretty conservative, and because we have this sort of broad, diverse mix of funding streams, that's let us cover things that we haven't been expecting. Now with some of these federal cuts, it puts about $1 million of personnel costs at risk and an additional $3 million of program funding at risk. That's just existing funding. So far, they're reimbursing us still, and the system's still open, and we're allegedly hearing that it's okay, but of course that puts some strain on the system. So all of that just to say, we would have to stop or slow down programming, and that's really how we've designed the organization, is to not get out ahead of our skis and make sure that we are funded to do the things that we're doing. So, Built to Last, if it has its own designated funding, we will have to use more of that funding to cover soft costs, to cover staff costs. We are currently in a holding pattern with Solar for All, which is $150 million of federal funding that has been allocated to Pennsylvania. 70 million of it would come to southeastern Pennsylvania through our Green Bank. The state legislature has been holding up our ability to spend that money, even though the Trump administration has authorized it. So, and that's all for low-income rooftop solar, of all the things. So, there are things like that where we've just continued to kind of fight for every possible opportunity out there. We've been in Harrisburg an awful lot this year trying to get that moving. It's not looking particularly promising right now, but we'll see what happens in the budget process. So, we're turning over every rock and shaking out the couch cushions to try to find any funding we can for this. Operational funding is the hardest part. We added a compliance team this year and a full finance team, so that has really been necessary to be able to hold this kind of large federal funding. But there are really not grants for those sorts of things. So these are the types of things that become at risk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Mr. Harrigan.
Thank you, Council President. I'm sorry, there was a confusion. My button keeps blinking on and off over here. Just real quick, because you just hit on it with the funding gaps. The $5 million request for the Built to Last Home Improvement Program proposed to take 200 homes off the 2-year wait list. With the additional funding, how soon can these homeowners expect to be moved off the wait list? And will this reduce the current overall 2-year timeframe?
Absolutely. So we are finishing intake now for a few of the homes that are already funded. But if we had certainty of funding, we would work immediately to start intake on those additional 200 homes. It would also allow us to do a little bit of triage to the wait list. So folks who are already getting a BSRP service, we can tie that more closely to Councilman Phillips's point and sort of do the work as close together as humanly possible. But yeah, it would start as soon as the budget is done, and we would get those people through the intake process. We would share that data across all of the programs, and then begin the process to scope the sort of whole home set of repairs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you for your testimony. Continue to keep up the good work. At this time, we will stand in recess until 2 p.m.
Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome.